Great. Thank you to the August regular meeting for the Blockhouse Mud. I noticed that we have a Boy Scout in the audience, and Matt, would you please join us in leading us to the Pledge of Allegiance?
I ask that everyone rise, please remove. Are you done? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, would you please take a moment of silence? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. It's kind of fun to have you here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Do we have any citizens communications? I don't see any forms. No? Okay. I don't think we're gonna move anything around. Dr. Shoemaker is on his way. So, Jim, Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Yes, ma'am. We got it right in the beginning. How's everybody today?
Good.
Awesome. Great to be back. As you know, we're always here to provide budget milestones, updates, and let you know of any significant work that's going on over there. So everything's still on schedule. So Shields is still scheduled for October 26th opening, and NFM's first quarter of 27, and the Hotel Convention Center second quarter of 27. So we're still on track. Everything's still tracking. So no issues there. A bit ago, last month when I was here, we talked about starting early tours again. We had stopped for about 6 weeks because Shields and NFM had reached a certain point, and so we just started the early morning tours on July 24th. So it's only been 33 days, and you can see the hotel is already on level 4. We'll be topping that out in October, so that'll be the tallest building that's on the site. So everything's been going great. Appreciate all your help with the Robo Blast and the Facebook communication on that, so I don't know if there's any concerns on that. Some of the work that we finished up was obviously the 30-foot buffer area. I noticed that you had some maintenance people over there and they mowed the sod that we had placed. Yeah, they did. So it's great, it's fantastic. We still have temporary irrigation in place.
Okay.
So we appreciate you doing that. The week of the 9th, we will be doing we're actually doing a mowing and a trim of the actual 30-foot buffer area itself. The reason we're doing that is we have our final acceptance walk the week of the 15th of September, and then we'll be removing the temporary irrigation on the sodded area along Creek Run on the 15th as well. So that'll wrap that area up, and it's completely done. So we're turning it over nearly 16 months ahead of time, and we really appreciate all your efforts and coordination on that. That's fantastic. With regard to South Blockhouse Drive, I know it took 3 weekends to complete the milling and overlay down there at South Blockhouse, but that portion of the work is done. We're still working on the intersection for a substantial amount of time. We have placed message boards as directed, and some concerns that I received. So we placed a message board, rotating message board at South Blockhouse and Creek Run, notifying everybody that those crosswalks down there will be closed until spring of 2027. It's a significant intersection, and we just need to make sure that everybody's protected. So that's up there. As you know, if you have any concerns or questions, let me know. I usually can get it handled sometimes in 45 minutes. You take care of whatever y'all need.
Depends on who calls, right?
Exactly. I know when their phone number pops up. The PEC trenching is what you've been seeing going on right south of the elementary school, as well as on the west side of South Blockhouse Road. That is trenching for underground utilities that will be feeding from the substation to the north here to our site. I think there's been some concern that maybe it was going to be a road. It's not a road. Is it going to be a walking trail? It's not a walking trail. It's a utility easement and utility improvement that's being done. We have completed all the work that we described earlier. We talked about doing the underground bore of South Blockhouse. I don't think anyone even knows that it took place. But it's completed, done, all the utilities are already in. David, as you know, we do a lot of pre-trenching here in Texas, so we grind out all the material, then we fill the ditches back in just so we can come back and put in the utilities. So we did all the pre-trenching mentioning is done. The 25% of the duct bank for PEC has been installed. We'll be completing the rest of that duct bank by the end of September, which means we'll be revegetating the area that we previously mowed and take all the fences down in October. So that should all be cleaned up and we should be out of your way. Now, there still will be one more step on Pedernales, PEC. They'll have to come through and just actually just pull the wire, but that's nothing more than pulling from one box to another, just
Yeah.
minus power over there. And then you have to continue to run up Cap Metro line to the substation. Those are really all the updates that we have. As been requested, you can go to cedarview.com, you can check the aerial footage that we have every month, we update every month, great overview.
Wonderful.
Progress that we have on there. So any questions or concerns?
Any questions from the board?
I wasn't quite prepared to see all that was going on there, and previously I'd asked, like, what can we expect coming up? I'm not taking issue with anything that's happened, but what can you share with us? What can we expect in the next month or 2 months?
With regard to what? part of the project?
Anything that Black House residents can see regularly?
Well, on the last meeting, and very clear, we did update on what was gonna be going on along Creek Run.
Okay.
We did talk about that because I clearly remember that because I had the wrong date for when school opened. And I was corrected immediately what day it actually opened. I think I had the 18th and it opened on the 12th. So we've been, at least I can go back to my notes, we've been completely transparent on what was gonna take place over there.
Okay,
That's
I'm skipping everything that I missed because I didn't catch that part of when I played the meeting back. But moving forward, what can we expect?
At this point, along Creek Run, and what you can visibly see, we are complete. I mean, that we will be opening up the crosswalk in 2027, but there's no sidewalk improvements that will be done along South Blockbelt. That's not even our property, that's a completely different developer. So from your perspective, turning over the buffer zone, the CME wall, 16 months early, which was very helpful, and Chris Lawrence assistance on that. Completing the PEC underground duct bank, that's the last work that we have or in our schedule.
Great. All right, thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem.
All right, talk to you soon. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. We have a full agenda tonight. Welcome David Shoemaker, just joined the meeting. Let's go ahead. Do I have a motion to approve July 9th and July 23rd minutes?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, abstain only because I wasn't here for the July 23rd.
Okay, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and so assuming Robert didn't say anything, so that's an aye, so that's 4-0, or abstain. So 4 ayes and 1 abstain. Okay, thank you very much. Sandy, report from Cindy Martin, the president of the VHCOA.
So we had our big bash on August 16th, I believe. I've slept since then, fortunately. It was held at Tonkawa this year because of the expected construction. It went really well. We kind of went all out. We had the Ferris wheel and the zip line, which we've had before, but we had a lot of rides and different food. Anyway, I think it went really well. We didn't have any complaints that I know of. I think that's all for the bash.
I do wanna add that, a resident, actually I think it was Cecilia Roberts gave us some feedback, which I agree with, is, when the event is over, and Boggs, you might, just take point to this, that, when everybody's leaving, it would be really helpful to have some direction to let people cross, Blockhouse Drive, you know, at the crosswalk, maybe just having a, deputy there. Because you have so many people that walk to the event, which is fantastic.
They can't get across.
Right, and you have a lot of people that drove as well, so I think that would be really good next year, let's keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
it wouldn't hurt anything to hold up traffic momentarily to let it
Yeah.
cross and then
Yeah.
read it.
So thank you, that was a really good point. I think we mentioned in the past, but I love the reminder, we'll definitely take that into consideration.
And Mayor, just one quick mention, I know my line, but there was almost an altercation between a vehicle and residents trying to get across.
So we'll definitely, we'll take care of that next year, so thank you. All right,
Okay, so our next event in September, 1st of September, I'll be ordering the pumpkins for the pumpkin patch. They probably won't, well, hopefully they'll be here the first week in October, and we're still kind of working out those dates because it depends on our supplier for the pumpkins. He had asked for prayers for rain, I believe he got rain, so this year will be the best of all of them, as he says. We canceled the wine tasting for the 4th, and I think we're gonna do it in the spring, so we'll get the dates to you and all that kind of stuff. And the camp out is October 11th, the Boy Scouts always help us out a lot with cooking and, keeping things in order for it. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Sandy. Any questions from the board? Okay, report from Deputy Boggs.
Nothing was passed to me, I don't have anything knowledgeable to pass, that's occurred.
Okay,
Maybe Antonio can bring in,
is he coming in or?
no, his family's rural sick.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I heard something's going around. That's fine.
He may can add it to next month's meeting.
That's fine. We do have one agenda item on a criminal trespass that we may invite you into executive session to discuss. I know Sean discussed it with Lovato, so if you don't mind. Okay, great, thank you. Number 6, second amendment to the standard agreement of local governments. On the page.
And I'm happy to review this one.
Yeah.
So board members, as a reminder, the way we contract with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office for their patrols in the district, you have individual contracts with each of the deputies that pays them, but then you also have this agreement with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, and then this provides for the rental, or basically the cost to cover their vehicles while they're serving in the district. And so their cost per hour has gone up from $14 to $15. And so we are seeing these on all of the districts where the deputies are providing supplemental patrols in Williamson County. Happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so I'll just add, so the vehicle charge went up from $14 to $15. And there's also a deputy, increase that went up for each deputy and the supervisor.
And that will go into effect on 10/1, those are your individual
Right.
contracts,
Yeah, okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, that is a 5-0 vote. Make sure it's recorded. Okay, so number 7, let's go ahead and go into this. Proposal for, a community trespass warning. Sean sent you all a memo that I wrote. Do we need to go into executive, or do we have any discussion here, or what, how do you wanna handle this?
I think it might be prudent to go into executive.
Okay, okay, so, Travis, Amy, you guys good doing that? Okay, so we're gonna go into executive, no decisions will be made during the executive.
And this is to be sure to receive legal advice from the district.
Right, so we're getting legal advice from our attorney, no decisions will be made, we will come back out, and if new decisions will be made, we'll make it vote in public, okay? Okay, so we are out of executive session, no decisions were made. So we have agenda item, number 7, and we discussed it, and do I have the agenda item is to issue a criminal trespass warning. I'll make a motion that instead of doing a criminal trespass warning, that we direct our attorney Sean to reach out to this resident, explain our concerns, explain the repercussions if it continues, and to allow her to reach out to Sean and share her side of the story. Our goal obviously is never to take anybody out of any of the parks, but we do have to protect our consultants, and there's numerous of them, as well as residents. So that is my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm opening it up for discussion.
I have nothing to add.
Nothing to add, nothing to add.
I think in that letter, like, I would like us to get the vendor, a short recap of what happened from them, and then Sean can process that however he feels is best. That way it's not coming from the board or from the lawyer, it's coming from a contractor that felt either uncomfortable or whatever they felt.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think Sean, you've got some of that detail, but feel free to reach out to Lisa. But we've got it from multiple groups and multiple contractors.
Like, if we're gonna start adding the multiples, we need to put that in the letter.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
You can put all
the
that in.
individual incidents.
Yeah.
Then we can do
No,
that.
I think that's helpful to have that in there. You know, this issue's been raised, this issue's been raised. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, it's 5-0. Thank you, guys. I think that was a good solution. Okay, budget tax items, schedule for the 25-26 budget and tax rate. Tyler, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, this is just rated, schedule, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sean?
this is just the schedule.
It's not to cover the actual
Yeah,
budget.
So we have a regular meeting today, which is noted here. To be sure, you voted on your proposed tax rate last week at the same time and place. We'll be undertaking our publication and then having the special meeting on September 10th to consider the levy.
Okay, fantastic.
And we can talk about the budget at that point too, right? Budget and levy at that point.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, good. Let's go ahead and go to Premier Rec. I don't see Mark. Oh, is Mark online?
I'm sorry, we didn't have a decision on that one?
No.
Okay, understood.
Is Mark online?
Yes, I'm online, thank you. Hello, Mark Miracle with Pure Recreation. Our summer season just wrapped up in the middle of August, so the pools are now open. Apache's open Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 5 to 8 or 5 to 9 now, and then also on the weekends. And then Tomlinson's still open on Saturday and Sunday as well through the end of September. So you'll see us out there still performing chemical maintenance and cleaning the pool. We're starting to clean up the back area where the chemicals are and get all of that straightened back up after summer. And then once Tomlinson closes down, we'll stack all the furniture and get all that prepared for the off season.
Fantastic. Does anybody have any questions for Mark?
I got a quick comment. I understand you don't come to all of our tax setting workshops and such, but just a little feedback that we shared at the public meeting about your company. Everybody loves you. We all think you're doing a great job, and we all very much appreciate. We never have to worry about problems with your company.
Thank you. That means a lot to us, and I'll share that with the guards.
Thanks, Mark. We appreciate everything.
Thank you. Really appreciate you guys.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Barty Landscapes. You have Clint on the phone?
I am here.
Hey, Clint.
How are y'all? We had a pretty eventful, normal, routine month. Just the regular routine maintenance. September will pretty much be the same before we start hitting into fall and doing our normal fall items. The only thing different this week is we did start doing the cleanup in the creeks from the flood using fire break hours that are in contract.
Thank you. Hey, can I just ask you real quick, are you guys taking pictures of debris that you're finding?
We have a ton of pictures of everything we found. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll just want to keep that because if we do the FEMA.
Yeah, when we have the budget meeting on the 10th, we have maybe those provided to us by then, so we can know we got for that. if that's okay.
Lisa has a link to them. I sent them as a link,
Okay.
so.
Fantastic. All right, any questions for priority landscapes?
No questions?
All right, thanks, guys, you guys are doing a fantastic job as well. All right,
Thank
let's
you.
go ahead to finance and audit. Payment of bills and invoices. Do I have a motion to approve payments of bills and invoices?
Motion. Second.
Fund transfers and investments would be included. Tyler, do you have anything to add to that?
No, the only thing I have to add is we have a check out of the capital projects fund for that Tomlinson pay application number 2.
It's number 1,
Change order number 1.
pay estimate number 2, then change order number 1. Okay. You're good,
Under-
you're good, Tyler. I'll follow up with you.
Okay,
Are we
so,
making the right payment here?
You are.
Thank you.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's 5-0. Thank you. Anything from the finance and audit subcommittee? Nope, okay. Professional services, Crossroads. Ding.
How's it going, everybody? My report is in the packet. Real quick, our leak detection was completed last month pretty quickly. Brandon Smith with acoustic leak detection, he just found 3 small leaks in the neighborhood and then 1 large main service leak that was in the middle of the street on Susan and Armstrong. But we fixed that within 2 days of getting the report, so maybe that could have been the culprit of our water loss, so let's just see what the next 45 days do, and then hopefully, if we're optimistic, it'll go down. And then we have no write-offs this month, and then update from AT&T would be, they're on Gabriel Mills and Tomlinson Ford, maybe some people have seen them already. And then I spoke to Ernie and I think Apache Pool, they have fiber at Apache Pool, they made like a stub out. So he was just directing me to tell y'all, whoever's on the account for the pool just needs to call AT&T and they just need to like set up service. And then I guess the AT&T technician will come out and will connect to the stub out that Ernie and their team put wherever it is the pool, I don't know where, but so the pool should be able to get fiber.
That's fantastic. I think Amy will let Lisa know and they can handle that.
Thank you for running that down.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. And then, that's all I have for you guys tonight, and then just next month on the agenda, I'll just have our 2-year contract renewal, for, decision, and then it was already budgeted and I sent the numbers in to Lisa, it's just a 6% CPI increase from 2 years ago.
Okay.
That's all I have today, if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Any questions? I do see, hey, Amy, I know Lisa, you're online. I am seeing more questions about the micro trenching in that area. They're just, maybe not be aware, so maybe we do another blurb or something, just kind of keep people up to speed. I know when it's in your area, you know about it, but when you don't, Sandy's looking at me because I didn't do micro trenching in her area. Okay, great. David.
Yes, ma'am, pleasure to be here, good to see y'all.
Great to see you.
Good to see you again, David.
Couple items, park bonds and park master plan for Tonkawa. I don't have an update on Tonkawa. Really, that's kind of a trench court right now.
Okay.
Just to remind the board that you have bond funds that were sold into your account to spend towards the Tonkawa Park improvements, okay? And so, I think Trent will be working on that at the direction of the board and will assist as needed.
Yeah, I think he's already pulling that together with Lisa. We don't really wanna pause, we wanna keep that moving,
Yes,
so there's no reason we can't start that project, which was proposed, it'll come from the board, a small pavilion with bathrooms.
Yeah, and those.
That was our master plan, correct?
Correct,
Yes.
yeah, yes.
And those bond funds would pay for your consultants to work on that upfront planning, design, et cetera, like that.
Mhm.
Okay, Hitchcock Design Group, bridge overlook, there was an overlook in the back that's been there, I can't remember what it's built, it's older than me. I'm not saying something, didn't it? But nevertheless, it was identified as not being structurally sound, and it was a concern, okay? And I know Lisa is on the line probably, I know she got a proposal from Dig Dug to remove it. I don't know, Lisa, maybe you can chime in whether it's removed or not.
We haven't approved that proposal yet, so it hasn't been removed.
I think it's item 21 today.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. There are no current plans to replace it. However, I think there is some sentiment about at least getting a trail, if you will, a walking path over there that it may evolve to something else. If you chose to pursue some type of trail or walking path, you do, again, have bond funds that are in your account for trail improvements. And that could be classified as a trail improvement and pay for any design and construction associated with that, should the board elect to go forward with something. So that's I'll call it a work in progress.
Good job.
Okay, Tumbleson Park, our playscape, is making progress. We are doing a once a week meeting. Lisa's attending, Crystal in my office is attending, representatives from TF Harper are attending. The one that we had on Tuesday of this week that we discussed about the Tumbleson Park project, I'm reading from it because I wasn't there. Some color submittals, in installation of base. They confirmed the delivery of the first shipment of the playscape and the base product. The retaining walls location was clarified, and mock-up of the pattern concrete for areas outside the playscape fall zone was planned. Payout number 2, which I believe was already approved, has been submitted. There are also 2 change orders, which I'd like to roll into. Change order number 1 is for powder coating the benches that are adjacent to the playscape area. And it's my assessment, and I believe I've talked a little bit with Sean about this, but we believe that those are eligible for payment out of your bond funds associated with the Tumbleson Park improvements. That pay estimate's in your packet. I don't have it in front of me, but it's relatively cheap, $1,500, $1,800. I think it's in your packet. I apologize, I don't have the full packet up in front of me. But we're recommending approval of that. And of course, we recommend approval of the pay estimate that was also just acted.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve
Pay estimate,
14?
change order number 1.
Yeah, well, it's 14C 1 and 2, pay
That's
estimate
correct.
2, and change order number 1. Do I have a
That's
motion?
correct.
Motion. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's 5-0.
We are looking at some additional improvements in that area, and we'll bring that back to the board more, whether they qualify for reimbursement or for funding out of your park bonds. We'll assess that and bring that back for further discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
That's all I have, unless you have any questions or comments.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to understand the bridge and the overlook. We're talking about the bridge over Black House Creek on,
No,
It's the wooden apparatus, the wooden thing
It's a
that's
wooden
behind the
deck.
baseball field.
it's a deck.
okay, no, okay, I got you.
I mean, I guess it's technically a bridge, there's
It's the
that part
outlook,
where
I
it's,
think, is we were.
you walk
supposed to-
along and it's elevated,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Okay,
We've all
It-
taken
it-
pictures of our kids there.
And to be completely transparent, I heard about this, and I heard it was in bad condition, needed to be removed, considered to be replaced. And I misinterpreted that to be your little wooden bridge back here on the trail.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, right there.
Oh,
Oh, sure, let's go do that. you know?
oh, now I understand,
Yeah,
okay.
okay, so
Yeah.
if there's a lot of if there's any correspondence floating around about that, I was
Okay.
wrong. The platform deck needed to be removed, and I have not opined about replacing it, okay?
Okay,
I don't believe that the removal of that is eligible for bond funds, okay? You could remove it and seek a change in some of your use of bond funds to reimburse your operating account, okay?
out of trails,
Out
because
of-
we have money for trails,
You
it's
could do
part
it
of the
for trail,
trails.
you could do, out of a lot of different sources.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
surplus bond funds, you can do what's called changing plans, which is redirecting money from one use to another. So you could find your way there, okay?
Right.
But if you're gonna try to remove it with dig dug, next week, you just need to do it operating funds and anticipate a future reimbursement.
Yeah, so what I did ask was that, we get a proposal, I think it was 20,000, was that to just demolish it?
I have not,
Yeah. Lisa, do you wanna, opine on that?
Yeah, the dig
so
dug
right
proposal
now,
is
it's
gonna
just
be,
not- Go
you
ahead.
have an estimate for the dig dug proposal in the packet. That's gonna be on page 97. That's for 18,450. It's gonna demo all of the existing, but leaving the retaining wall itself.
Yeah, so just so you understand, there's a retaining wall that is Luther Chan's, practice field, so we don't wanna damage that, cause that would damage the field. But right now, it is really, it has construction orange tape and says caution, so nobody can really utilize it. We don't want that to sit there for months and months. We do have a lot of pea gravel, left over from what they took away from here, so there's some options. So I'd like us to come back and have an idea of like, what's the best way to demo it and do something temporary until we really can go, cause this is gonna take us time to go in front of TCQ and get all that done again.
I did talk to Trent, and he concurred with the fact that he felt it needed to be removed from a safety standpoint.
Yeah,
It's been there a long time, it's been decked over, but the structure underneath it has never been replaced, okay? So it's something to consider, but the removal situation probably needs to go forward within a reasonable amount of time.
I guess I'm just not comfortable with us approving the demo today, knowing like, if we take everything away, is it still safe for people just to walk?
Fair enough.
I don't know
No,
that
that's,
answer.
if people are gonna go back there, if we take that deck out, so we need to have a better assessment of if we need to limit access, how we can.
Yeah, yeah,
If
so,
you want the
There's no-
group to look
that
at
wall.
that, we have to look at that.
yeah.
Because it came about as a safety issue.
Yeah, no, it
And
absolutely.
Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding.
Lisa?
That's correct.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
Uh,
so let's go ahead and, we're tabling it, but we're gonna have it on the September regular meeting.
Or I was gonna ask, and this is a Sean question, if it really does need to be time sensitive, could we not add this to the September 10th meeting as an extra item?
Okay, we don't
So,
want to.
so if David and
You
Lisa.
can always add it, and then if we're ready to take action on it, you
Yeah.
do.
Okay,
Yeah, I just wanna make sure in case it turns out to be time sensitive for the damage, right, and safety, that we don't
Okay.
have to.
it is completely closed off, but yeah, I agree.
So I was gonna add, but
Yeah.
it's my understanding if it's been blocked off and
Yeah.
signage and all that sort of thing.
Let's go ahead and add it.
We'll follow up with Lisa on that and
Okay.
coordinate,
And
try to be ready for a firm recommendation. I would characterize it as your September, I believe, 10th meeting. So unless I don't have any additional items on NFM, it's in my report.
Yeah.
I think Jim's doing a great job of giving you reports. Ours has been basically about your drainage stuff. We're not monitoring the PEC clearing and things like that. So I think we're pretty much done with that, so to speak.
Yeah.
We're not spending time or any money on it. If you want us to go look at something or something comes up, somebody will call me or Jim will call me and tell me.
Yeah, I wanna concur with you that, Jim has done a fantastic job,
Yeah, I
as well as
absolutely
Nebraska Fire Smart, and we did have an issue with the crosswalk. And I'm saying this really for residents that are listening, the crosswalk at New Hope and Blockhouse Drive is closed, and it's closed until 2027. And if you go and drive through there, you'll understand why. Absolutely understand why. I'm not a proponent of opening it beforehand, or even doing a temporary one there. What I wanted is to make sure that we had good, crisp communications with residents, so they were not walking down Creek Run thinking they could go to the crosswalk. Jim was fantastic, the city, talked to them a little bit back and forth, but Jim's really one that stepped up and made sure, so there's a huge sign at the intersection right now.
Yeah.
Worked with Jim on, clarifying the message there, so residents know that crosswalk is closed until 2027.
And I just wanna point out that the New Hope work that's behind the closing the crosswalk is actually a city park job.
Yeah, absolutely, and actually, that's a fantastic point, and that's, Amy and Lisa, that's what we really wanna communicate out to our residents is, if you have any concerns about that crosswalk or anything on New Hope in that intersection, those questions need to be directed to the city of Cedar Park. And I think Jessica, you might have been on that email, no, I'm pointing at Amy. I think Jessica responded with who to reach out to, so we just wanna make sure that we have that clear, on
And I
both
think
sides.
that supports the comment about Jim's and NFM. They went out and put that up down here, and it's not their problem, so to speak, okay?
It's not, but they stepped
And
up.
really appreciate that. I know we
Yeah.
all do.
Yeah,
Director
absolutely.
Logan, Director Logan, we did receive that information, and Amy and I are working on some correspondence to be able to put out to residents, and it will have those links that Jessica provided. So yes, we do have that.
Fantastic, thank
Great.
you. Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you, David.
Yes, ma'am.
It's good seeing you. Okay, now we're gonna go to amenities 15. So we have beekeeping considerations in Humano, it's 15, and then 16 is the Eagle Scout project. So how I wanna handle this is, in case, and let me know if you guys wanna do it differently. I'd like for Brett to step up and talk about it again, this will be his third time in front of the board talking about the bee, project. Then I'd like, Mr. Miller to, stand up and give us his, presentation on his Eagle Scout project. Then we will go into executive session, I think all the directors received the memo on, the legal analysis of the liability with it. And then let's all come out, and then we can ask Brett or Mr. Miller any questions. How's that? Is that okay with the board?
Alright, so, how y'all doing? We've been working on this, meeting some of the gardeners, Boy Scouts are getting involved now. Basically what we wanna do is we're gonna put, 1 to 2 hives, safely placed, and protected in the community garden. Why bees? If you kind of look at where we're at right now in this neighborhood, what's going on around us, we are in a very unique spot to make a meaningful impact on the environment around us. We're concreting hundreds of acres. This used to be the country, it's not the country anymore. I've seen steps we've taken as a neighborhood thus far, not fogging for mosquitoes. The amount of native bees that we're seeing in the garden this year compared to last year at the same time is just exponentially higher. So, with this creek, with some of the green spaces we have, I think we have a great, situation where we can foster environmental awareness, get people involved in the community. Why bees? Bees is kind of like the gateway drug to nature. You come to the garden, you see the bees flying to and fro, you should learn some facts about them. Now you're looking at your plants, oh, this is a different bee. Well, now I'm learning about this bee. Bees don't care if you're a man, woman, Republican, Democrat, identify as a cat. They don't care about you. I'm the same way as the bees. I want to involve the community in this. There's a lot of interest from mainly a lot of the females in the neighborhood are really, have a bunch of positive response about it. And as far as negative feedback, we had a couple of people who voiced a few concerns. We spoke with them. I think those concerns have been put to rest. As far as liability, we're gonna go through everything we can possibly do to make this as super safe as possible. These Italian bees that we're gonna keep are super gentle. I can walk up to the hive without a suit on, and a Speedo, open the lid, take it off, mess with them, put it back. They won't follow me more than 5 feet from the hive. We're gonna ensure that these are, these bees are taken care of. If there's any signs from, of any sort of aggressiveness, we'll requeen with a known general queen. And when I say any signs of aggressiveness, I mean if a bee follows me 15 yards from the hive and I'm still not into the garden yet, that's something where I'm gonna take note and we're gonna be proactive about it, because we don't want anybody to get stung. Signage, we're gonna have signage up. The Boy Scouts will be aware of them. What we have in mind is, obviously the garden is fenced off, security fencing, padlocked. There will be a security fence, then for the bees, the security enclosure, and then inside of that, there'll be a flyaway barrier. This flyaway barrier is kind of the crux of what we're doing to keep it safe. Basically, it's a fence in front of the hives. Bees come out of the hive, they have to fly up to get to where they're going. Generally speaking, the bees are gonna fly like 2.5, 3 miles away, work their way back. They'll be flying high to get out of here. They'll have to fly over the trees. They won't be flying through the garden area. When they come back, same thing. If they do stop in the garden, which they will, they're gonna have to fly up and over to get back down to their hive to clear the flyaway barrier. So all the flight will be happening up. So that's kind of our safety deal. My man here has been working hard on kind of putting his numbers together, his proposal. They want to help, build the habitat. We have some leftover stuff from the construction over here that would be perfect for what we're looking to do. So that's where we're at. The gardeners are all in for it. We want this to be a spot, I don't know who's been to the community garden lately, but, they've been putting a lot of work in, Mark, Monica, Ursula, Ashley, me. But it looks really great over there, and it's several residents have come to talk about the bees that didn't even know the garden was back there, and they're saying, oh, this is the crown jewel of the neighborhood. They absolutely love it. Hopefully we can involve, the garden with wine tastings and stuff like that. It's a great spot to go back and chill and do stuff. And in no way will the bees take away from that, they'll actually add a little mystique to come look. You'll be able to see them from a safe distance. You know, if you're interested in beekeeping, we can do some classes and actually get waivers signed and get you in on the bees. So that's kind of where we're at, you know, it's something that they brought to me with my experience in beekeeping. I said, you know, I can present it, we can try to do it the best way possible. You know, it's all about safety. We don't want, obviously, anybody to get stung. You know, if you go in there and open the beehive, you don't have a glove on, and you get stung, you ask for it. Even when you mess with these bees, they're not gonna be stinging you. So that's where we're at with that. If you got any questions for me later on, logistics, semantics, just any questions at all about any of it, let me know.
Thank you, thanks Brett. Directors, as I mentioned, let's let Mr. Miller go ahead and present, and then we'll go into executive, and then we can ask questions, but. Mr. Miller.
Hi, that's about there should be enough copies. Hi, my name is Matthew Miller, I'm part of Troop 171, Cavalera Council, the Boy Scout troop here at Lockhouse Creek. I would like to personally thank you all for listening to me and letting me talk here today at this meeting. I'm very excited to be here. So I guess I'll start off by introducing my proposal. I know Mr. Barr has spoken a few times here before, I've watched his videos, and has introduced this idea already, but that is the introduction and installation of a beehive. For the community garden, I intend to make this a very concise and yet comprehensive presentation, seeing as you have heard some great details about this already from Mr. Barr. That is to say, the crux of my presentation here today is that I'm a life rank scout. That means I'm one away from an eagle, and I'm looking to advance to Eagle Scout. And I believe the Beehive Initiative would be a perfect opportunity for me to provide that service for the community and get my Eagle Scout project done. So, my why, I want to preface my why for this project as kind of a history of Boy Scouts in our scout troop and in our community. The first 4 flower beds in our community garden, that was a Boy Scout Eagle project. Erecting benches was during the construction of the disc golf course, that was an Eagle Scout project. Renovating the ceilings in the Jumana building, that was an Eagle Scout project. And if you go out past the disc golf course, there is signage all around the area, you know, leading hikers and walkers alike. And that was, of course, an Eagle Scout project. I learned this some 6 years ago whenever I first joined Scouts, and I love scouting. I love doing what I do. I was there when we cleared dozens of trash bags full of trash from the creek. I was there whenever we helped get rid of some of the debris that was just left in the mulching area. And the Jumana Park has just been a part of Scout Troop 171's history for so long, and I intend to play a part in it. If you turn and look in your pamphlets that I've handed out to you, on the first 4 pages there is a comprehensive list of pretty much all that I have done research in for the past 2 weeks, and including the cost at the end of it. And attached to that is a spreadsheet in which calculates all of the things that I've been looking for. I was price matching on Amazon, Manlake, and Home Depot mostly, trying to get like a good estimate of the exact cost. And then of course, the mudboard with your 504 would have tax exemption for being my beneficiary, and thus any purchase I would make would have tax exemption. Sorry. But you will see at the final price of being about $1,375, that I'm estimating about a margin of error of 5%. So a little bit over, a little bit under. But this is my estimation. At the back of that is a sketch using Google Maps. I had mapped out pretty much the entire square footage, and then going to various meetings, for running meetings, I had mapped out another section of it. And that should, above that, will be 2 rectangles that is double fenced. And it should house 2 beehives about 4 foot away from the flyaway barriers. They will be privacy fences. And then, if you'll note, there's a recycling section in that. The recycling section is a kind of a vision of mine. I have been walking around Jumana for some time, and due to Tomlinson's demolition, there's gravel pits everywhere. And there are those huge fences, I measured them, they're 7'10", fences that are metal. And if we wanted to fence the area and then also level out the area with mulch, with gravel, we'd have a perfect opportunity to recycle a bunch of material. There's a recycling cost there. I did an estimate about how much the price would be of all the material that we have available to us. And it's honestly just a fantastic opportunity that I'm hoping to get for the community, you know? I'd like to thank you all for for your consideration of this project, and if you have any questions, I would love to try and answer them to the best of my ability. And I'll leave it to your executive decision.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting this together, it's very thorough.
So,
You'll be here for questions after.
Of course.
yeah, absolutely. So Travis, we're gonna go ahead and go into
I'm
executive.
gonna take a word, let's start in there.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go into executive to get legal advice, and then I will come out and Brett and, Mr. Miller, please stay so we can ask any questions. Okay, so we're in executive session and we received legal advice, no decisions were made. I think there's a lot more discussion, that we wanna have. In executive session, we don't deliberate. We just listen to legal advice, so I think you'll probably see some deliberation here. And Brett, you're still here, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So what I wanna do is, Sean, can you give your advice, or no? Okay, that's all right. So the directors know, the position of our attorney, so I'd like to go around and let everybody have a chance to speak. Ask direct questions to Brett or Matt, because here's the steps. We approve or not the bees. If it's approved, then we can then go to the Eagle Scout project. If it's not approved, then unfortunately we can't approve the Eagle Scout project. But, so if we can just kind of keep this orderly, let's ask, no, you know what, ask both of them, because I think we have some questions on maintenance and stuff, so go ahead, guys, sorry.
I have a very boring question to start off with, if I could do it that way. So the very thorough and excellent list of costs, on this part right here, which if any of these is the mud plant to pick up?
So the final cost, the 1,339 is what I calculated. Those were more comparative analysis of what the costs would have been had this been a private venture.
Okay.
Or if there was, the one that's just recycling is just me calculating for my sake to see how much money we were truly saving using recycled materials.
Okay.
And that whole cutout section was just a sample from the bigger spreadsheet.
Okay, great. So the cost of the mud would be 1,379?
Yes.
Okay,
And,
excellent.
and do note that, you know, Monica and Mark and some of the gardeners, I think we're supposed to have some funds that they're willing to.
To push forward, okay.
It wouldn't be direct taxpayer money, it would come from the community garden budget.
Well, there can also be donations. The Boy Scouts have a fundraising form that I fill out after approval, and then I can start fundraising. I creating pamphlets through Canva and whatnot, and start posting them across the schools and areas in which.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you.
Question, what type of beekeeping certifications might there be, and do you have any of those?
As far as, you know, you can get a master beekeeping certification, it consists of, you know, going through the courses. I do not have a master beekeeper certification. It's something, if that's what y'all need to happen, it's something I can make happen, you know, relatively quick. I have the knowledge, it's as simple as going to a online course, taking the test, passing it.
Okay, so that's just one, for instance, in computer networking, there's 15, there's the Cisco one, the CompTIA, there's, like.
Basically, that's the only accreditation that there is.
Okay.
It's like a master beekeeper access.
Would you be willing to go and do that?
Absolutely. You know, it'd be, you know, I would, if obviously I wanna do it, you know, something I would flip the bill on and just get the certification.
The next thing is, you may not always be around.
100%.
Would you be willing to apprentice?
That is my main goal.
To where, if you're not around, you're in New Jersey or whatever, and we get some Africanization and they get aggressive, you've got people that know how to identify that?
Yeah, that's my main goal, is to have, you know, several gardeners showing interest. I'm interested in mentoring tutelage, and we have to take the right steps to get there, but to have, you know, people that aren't in the garden, if they wanna come do a bee 101 class and learn about the bees, and then maybe we step it up to, you know, a bee 102 class, something with the beekeeper, we're signing waivers, you get to go to the hive inspection, you know, type deal. I wanna have, you know, obviously protective equipment readily available right there in the garden, protective equipment being suit and gloves. I want to have as many people as possible that I can, you know, we need to lay out the steps for their accreditation, to, you know, be like, okay, Mark, Brett's not here, Mark, can you go handle this? Yes. You know, as far as, you know, you bring up a great thing, Africanization, it's not something that happens, you know, overnight. If a hive gets mean and we haven't been inspected, it's gonna take them over a month and a half for that to happen. Say they swarm, we squish the queen, and they have to make a new queen, it gets the African hive, it has to lay the eggs, those have to hatch. So I'm gonna have a month and a half, a 2-month period to notice that there's not a queen with the dot on it in there. And if there's not.
How frequent are your queen inspections?
So basically, you know, we wanna inspect during the spring about once a week on a, you know, set schedule. After the summer solstice, pretty minimal. We're gonna go in there and monitor mites once a month. Other than that, we don't really need to open them up. So the only activity beekeeping wise is really, you know, in the spring, we're checking to make sure that they're not swarming. We check that every week. And that's as simple as, you know, not even taking the top off. I can separate, take a peek in there, there's no swarm cells, we're good to go. So that's the deal, is we're always gonna have a marked queen. If we don't have a marked queen in there, we know that she has perished, they've got a new queen. We don't know the origins of her mating. You know, obviously there could be Africanized genes around, which there are. So we would immediately order from my guy in Temple. I go pick up the queen, it's got a dot on it, we know who it is, we squish the old queen, put her in there, her new, you know, that's the deal, though. We're not gonna get to that point, we're gonna monitor, that's the, you know, the kind of the goal behind beekeeping is to monitor that so that doesn't happen.
So let's say we had a abandoned home somewhere in Block House, been abandoned for 2 years, bees have taken over, they're Africanized. And then we get attacked somewhere not near either place, right? Are you able to know if the Africanization is happening in your, I mean?
You can send in for tests of genetics from your hive to prove that they're not. But, you know, that's the thing, generally, if there's gonna be, if somebody's gonna get attacked, it's gonna be, you know, Africanized bees, 50 feet, you know, from within 50 feet of the hive. You know, if there's a hive in a tree in this neighborhood and I can't walk 50 feet from it without a bee coming at me, they're Africanized. If there's a hive in a tree that I can walk right up underneath, stick my hand in, stick my face in, and that really bothers me, they're fine, you know. There's a chance that those trees, the bees in those trees could become Africanized. They let you know well before you get into a danger zone that you shouldn't be coming over there. When bees are out foraging, no matter how they are Africanized or not, they're not gonna attack anybody. They're just out getting groceries, they're going back home, so.
So I think one of our biggest concerns is liability.
Yeah, 100%.
And also, if you're gonna be liable, you need to cross all your Ts and dot all your Is and stuff like that. And I don't know what the regularity of any sort of a reporting would be, but, you know, somewhere between, you know, weekly when you're doing inspections, just send it to the GM or something like that, you know, like whatever's been done. So if we're crossing our Ts, dotting our Is, and like inspected, it was the original queen that is not known to be, you know, Africanized, different things like that. Is that something that you guys would be willing to
So we have
participate
to, so,
in?
you know, it's just like, you know, I'm a brewer by profession. You have to take detailed notes to, you know, keep things going. That's the same thing. Every time you open the hive, you're gonna take detailed notes. You know, was the queen present? Absolutely, we saw her. You know, is she laying eggs? Yeah, absolutely. What was their temperament? You know, did a bee follow me from the hive? We're gonna keep those notes every time we open the hive. If we're not opening the hive, hey, we checked on them today. You know, when I say not opening the hive, I'm not taking the lid off, I'm just cracking the box so I can see. Because basically, if they're gonna swarm, you can tell from the bottom of the box, you don't even have to open it up. There's these long cells that look like peanuts, and you can tell that, hey, this.
Would you explain swarm to everybody?
So basically, swarming, you know, when they say swarm, they're not talking about, oh, these bees are swarming and attacking me. I'm sure we've all seen the pictures of a big ball of bees on a tree. That's a hive that's swarm. Basically, it's their way as a organism of reproducing. So, yeah, they reproduce inside the hive, you know, to keep, it's kind of like cells of your skin, right? You're reproducing, but we actually mate. They don't mate, they swarm. So the queen will leave with about 3/4 of the hive. They eat all the honey they can eat that's in the hive. They quit feeding the queen, so she's skinny enough to fly. They take off to a tree, you know, 100 feet from the hive or something, ball up. They figure out where they're gonna go, and then they'll all take off and fly into said tree or said house that's got a hole or.
And your queen that you purchased from up north is unable to swarm because of restrictions in the hive?
Well, so that's the deal, we generally speaking, the queen lives 3 to 5 years, regular bee lives about 4 weeks. That queen in her first year, her instinct is not to swarm, so every year we would be getting a new queen just to minimize the swarming impulse. Now, say we do have a super gentle queen in there, we leave her for 2 years, we just monitor, and once we see those cells, we can stop the swarming by manipulating the hive, keep the same queen, they think that they've swarmed, the beekeeper, to get honey, you don't want the bees to swarm because, you know, they eat all the excess honey. So you will know it's gonna happen, you know, a week before it's gonna happen in the spring, and they only swarm in the spring, so.
So I imagine that if we do proceed with this, there would be a sort of a document that we all agree on and different items like that, but it sounds like between either certification or whatever the best reporting cadence is, that is something that the beekeeping community is willing to work over those obstacles.
100%, yeah, and that's the deal, we want, you know, that was one thing that's brought up is, oh, I have a bee allergy, and I'm not discounting that anybody does, but a lot of people do. When are y'all gonna, you know, we would like it to be known that, hey, Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, this is when we're open. Will anybody know that we're doing it? Absolutely not. Will people standing in the garden know that we're doing it? Maybe because they can see us, but they're not gonna be effective, you know. It's just one of those things, just so you know, it's more of a peace of mind thing. Like if you're allergic and I'm opening the beehive and you're standing right there, unless you start swatting at them, you're not gonna get stung. They're pretty mundane, you know, there are horror stories with the Africanized, but these bees that we're talking about, totally different story. They're not gonna fly. And also the flyaway barriers, they can't see people walking around anyway, they got a fence in front of them. So they're not gonna be protective of, you know, somebody walking, somebody mowing. We're gonna have, you know, hopefully with the pea gravel, a large buffer of non-mowing where the bees are, so there won't be any outside risk. If, you know, the guy's mowing and doesn't wanna mow, you know, no problem. But that's the goal, is to have, you know, a whole crew of people with the same knowledge, the same skill set as me. You know, I want to, whether it be, you know, old woman, young man, young woman, old man, anybody is welcome to come and you know, obviously we want to be safe and make sure we're doing it right, waivers, signs. But in no way would I ever bring this upon myself if I thought that this was gonna be, you know, a risk. Cause, you know, obviously he spent a lot of time on it, you know, so I spent a lot of time talking to people about it. And I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, I have met so many people that in my day-to-day life that I wouldn't talk to, you know, ever. And now I have lots of friends, you know, people that you wouldn't think I'm friends with that text me all the time. So I think it's a good way to bring people together. Even if it's just, you know, classes, a bee 101, you know, a honey tasting, stuff like that. You know, people can see the bees. I think that it really will kind of, it can, you know, foster community, it can foster being more environmentally, you know, conscious. And then also, there's gonna be honey. It goes along.
So those were great questions. Do you have a question?
Yeah, once you have your Bee Master certification, does that then certify you to be able to teach the classes and certify others?
That's a great question, it's something I'll have to look into.
Okay.
That is a great question. So I'm not exactly sure that, I'm thinking you have to go through like a, you know, an accredited source to take the test, but as far as, I'll look at that, you can answer.
So I actually did look it up just quickly, and there's not a single beekeeping certification cost in Texas, as the state does not require one. But you can pay for classes and equipment to learn, the cost is ranging from 100 on. So I think
A&M has like a little course, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so when we say certification, I don't think there's truly a Texas certification, but we could, you know.
As far as I know, you can be certified as a master beekeeper, so.
Okay, alright. Do you have any questions?
No, I'll make comments when we get to that point, but I'll make questions.
Well, okay, David, do you have any questions?
Nope, I only had the cost question, and then Robert covered a lot of great stuff.
Oh, y'all did wanna know about maintenance, and that's something that, you know, it's, the bees kind of take care of itself. Yes, we're gonna have some equipment needs, but as far as maintenance, you know, I hope to set up a watering station for them, so we can ensure that they're flying to our water and nobody else's pool. You know, the creek's right there, they're gonna fly to the closest water source they can get, so if we put one 10 yards from the hive or 20 yards from the hive, that'll be the closest water, and they'll frequent that as long as they're watering it. Maintenance, not too much maintenance involved really. Yes, we have to inspect them, but once you have the hive and you know, the equipment, not much to it.
One of the, if I may continue, I think it's my last one. One of the concerns is discs getting in, and if I know disc golfers, they're highly treasured, they probably will ignore whatever sign and try and get in.
So.
Is it gonna be covered?
That's something we could look into. So what we did is I went out with a couple guys and we chucked and, you know, I don't know the whole numbers, but if you could, you know, if you can get to where the bees are gonna be right now, you're an amazing athlete. Because you have to go, you know, I know what you're saying, the disc curve.
But they are good athletes.
Yeah, right.
Like, number one, there was a huge pecan in the way, that's not there anymore. And we don't know when another tree's gonna go down and figure it out. But I've also seen thumbers going completely over the area where you're at, and they come back and land right at the basket, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
I have noticed several of the discs that get in that area. Let me ask you about the area between the garden shed and the pump station. Is there a problem with, like, shade would be better for them, or do you want them out?
You want a little sunlight, but those flyaway barriers are gonna cause shade anyway, so I'm open to put them anywhere. You know, originally we had talked about the corner, and I went out through a disc, I was like, no way, discs are gonna hit that, you know?
In the far corner.
Yeah, so, you know, wherever, and that's the thing about it, we're open to do whatever, as long as we can make it, you know, as safe as possible. And I think that if you have a problem with that, or, you know, concern, that's a great idea, is to put it somewhere.
So Matt, would you be consider if we were to approve it conditionally on moving it to a better disc golf location, maybe be beside you know where the big oak grove is, the shed, okay?
There's like the little area beside that, we could also move it over there. If we put it more central to like that section, that's like just across from like the utility area, then that's also within 50 feet of the area. Oh, it's technically 25 feet, I just measured for precautions to have it within 50 feet of everything. Technically, it's centered on the map that I had.
Okay, that place gets stinky every now and then, but the bees are okay with it.
Once they're there and the queen's there, they're not going anywhere, you know, until the spring. And that's the deal is, you know, I think that once, if y'all do approve it, I think that nobody will ever have any issues with it. As far as upkeep, it's just queens in the spring, to know that we have a known March, you know, a nice queen. And then, weekly inspections in the spring, in the summer, it's about once a month. Once it cools off, you don't mess with it. If it's 55 degrees or colder, they don't leave the hive. So for a good portion of the, you know, winter, they're not even active, so.
Okay guys, so I think everybody's had a chance to ask their questions with Brett and comments. So I think we're ready to vote on the
Do
item.
you wanna have any discussion amongst the board members on this?
Well, that's kind of what we're doing, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm
Please.
asking, like, do we wanna talk, anything else gonna say, or? Okay. Like I said, I do wanna say one thing. I do think that one thing not really being discussed here, and it's not a knock on Brett or any of the people on the Eagle Scout project or is that at the end of the day, given some of the legal concerns raised by Sean, the people who will be on the hook if there is a legal issue will be the taxpayers of the district. And it will not be something that we can control, it will be in the hands of a jury in Williamson County. And that's my one biggest concern, is that we are taking an action, and not just for today or tomorrow, but like an action potentially 10, 20 years down the road after we're gone off the board, right, this goes on for a while, that if something does ultimately go wrong, that, you know, we'll have an insurance fund that's gonna pay out some, but depending on the size of the judgment, we're not putting you on the hook, tell taxpayers, we're going to raise taxes because we got a judgment against us. And that's my thing is, if this was something where we had total control over that part of our liability and that we control that, I feel much more comfortable. But I think the problem is that we are taking something here that if something does go wrong, it is gonna be completely out of our hands. We could do the best we could do on possibly every front. And if the jury just thinks that we did it wrong, we're done, right? You see this all the time in the trucking industry, right? And they had a huge fight with the legislature this past session about tort reform. Because you got trucking companies that, you know, weren't being dangerous, but someone hit them and they didn't follow some procedure or didn't do something perfectly, and the jury goes, well, the big bad trucking company should have known better. And so, we're not a big bad trucking company, but we are the people ultimately responsible for the property, right? And that's the thing for mine. That's all I wanted to say before we move on. If anybody else was saying else, that's fine, but I just wanted to make that point clear.
No, I appreciate your insight or your position on that. I'm just gonna say that, geez, if we're going to tort reform, we can sit there and talk about all kinds of cases all over the place. And we can never be 100% cleared of being liable, or being free from liability. And I think that we're trying to put systems in place to the best of our ability. And we could be sued for anything. We could be sued for somebody jumping over the fence tonight, jumping off the slide. We can be sued for all kinds of things. So I understand what you're saying, but there's nothing that we can do as a board to completely protect us from being sued. And so I'm not so concerned about that. I'm more concerned about us like having policies and procedures in place and getting your certification. There's not a Texas, but putting the procedures in place to protect us as much as possible. I think the pros outweigh the cons here, and it would be unfortunate if we're just so nervous about being sued that we didn't go forward with this.
And I will, just to answer your question, I mean, I don't know if it's something that, the mud could get, but they do have, beekeeping insurance. I think a $2 million policy is $900 a year. If that's something we need to raise funds for, just putting that out there, that is an option.
Gotcha, no, I appreciate it, it's not knock on y'all.
Yeah, 100%.
Not knock on you or your work, right?
Yeah,
Like that's, I think y'all are gonna do probably a great job running this hive, right?
Yeah.
It's just that.
And I understand where you're coming
that's long term, right? Like we will not all be here in 10 years or more, right?
Yes, sir.
But nor does the even hive have to be here. Let's say we're off the board, nobody's here, that cares anymore, they can get rid of the hive. Hopefully the board would do the right thing, make sure it was extinguished correctly, but.
Can I ask another
yes,
question on
please.
that? If we were to do a trial with the bees and we said, hey, this isn't working, we moved them out, what do they do with them? Are they gonna kill them all?
No,
or-
I mean, I would personally take them to one of my yards. I mean, I plan on donating a hive, the equipment, so we're good to go. I have a hive sitting in Liberty Hill, it's got a gnome, Italian queen. So say, probationary period, I'm with that, because I'm pretty confident that, there's not gonna be any issues. But if that was, the situation was to arrive, hey, we got bees buzzing people, we don't feel it's safe, I can immediately put them in my car, take them to Liberty Hill, even requeen them out there, so we don't have to deal with any of that, so.
Yeah, hives are in demand, they are definitely in demand,
Yes.
people really want to have.
And that's the deal is, if we're doing it right, we're gonna actually end up with a couple extra hives that we'll need to, get rid of just because we're keeping our numbers low. I don't want any monster, 16-story hives in there that are now defending 600 pounds of honey. We want to keep the hive small so they don't have, that much to defend.
I think one of my greatest concerns is if something happens to the whole team and the team's not available, it then falls on us to figure out how to handle those bees.
Well, I think that when we have the contract, we write that up, that there needs to be somebody available within 24 hours to contain the bees and move them to Liberty Hill or whatever. But I think that's if you've got 2 apprentices minimum and we have a contact list, that there will always be one of 3 people that you guys pass the puck or the beeper, whatever it is for a bee emergency. But that would be a part of the agreement.
Yeah, and as far as bee emergencies, I can't foresee, all these situations, all these fears are, based in reality because there are things that happen, but they're not in a controlled environment like we're talking about here. And this is, people put them on top of their breweries, people put them, all over the place. And you don't hear about people getting attacked by bees other than an Africanized bee when I was mowing or it was in a wall. People drown more than they get killed by bee stings. We got a creek running through here, don't have a fence around, so.
If we're still concerned, we can try and get Travis to be certified as well, so he could.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, there's people that have.
We might need to talk to Crossroads.
Yeah.
They might ask us for a liability policy on that one, right?
And just to kind of, the way that I came into beekeeping is I went to a professional guy's house to pick up a hive, and when I pulled up, this guy had 17, 18-wheelers with, hundreds of hives packed on there, leaving that night. Thousands of bees flying everywhere. I pull up and I'm like, there's no way I'm getting out of this car, right? There are bees everywhere. I look over, there's a 7-year-old girl, 8-year-old girl, playing with their Barbies, running around, bees all over them. Well, hell, I guess I'm getting out of the car, you know? And it kind of just clicked to me that these kids aren't scared of it. This family who's been around them for generations aren't scared of it. These are, you know, they had millions and millions of bees in, you know, 1 acre plot. If they weren't worried about it, I wasn't worried about it. You know, I'm talking one hive against thousands and thousands. So that kind of, that's what kind of put it in perspective to me of like, oh, this isn't that dangerous. Now, if I was to get out of the car and start whacking at them, yeah, I'd probably ask them for it. But that's the deal, is we want anybody that's going back there, we want them to be, you know, informed. That's what we want. We want information. We want to stop disinformation. You know, we kind of want to alleviate the fear that that's going to happen because.
Okay, thank you. So I just, one last thing, and I kind of did this already, but I said pools, but you know, we have inherent risk with our playgrounds, with our sports fields, you know, so there's risk with everything we do in our community. And this, quite honestly, seems like it's gonna have a little bit more oversight and procedures and protocols around it. So that's just my position on the risk on it. Are we ready to go ahead and make a motion to, first one is, would we even consider allowing beehives in Humana? Okay, I will go ahead and make a motion. I'm gonna motion that we allow a trial period of beehives in Humana with some of the standards and protocols that have already been suggested, but probably enhance those a little bit more. Do I have a second? If I don't have a second.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I have.
Discussion?
Go ahead.
How long is the trial?
I don't know, what would be a good trial period, 6 months?
I would say that, you know,
A whole cycle?
less than, I mean, we want the, you know.
Going back up, like.
Yeah, I would say, you know,
We got.
if we get, you know, if everything goes what we proposed today, and we get the habitat and everything built for them, we can put them in there this year, let them go through their spring cycle, just so everybody can see that, hey, this is, you know, this is what it is, and I would, you know, hopefully, we can get some community involvement, people come out and see, people come out in the garden, but I would recommend.
6 months?
What was it now, so it's, I would give it, you know, I would say till June.
Next June, okay.
June.
10 months, okay, so a 10-month trial period.
And that sounds like a,
When would they actually come? Like you have to work on getting a certification and then all the policies?
yeah, so I mean, just, you know, as far as that goes, when I get the, you know, this young man's pretty go-getter. So as far as, it would be getting all of the infrastructure in place, which I don't think would take that long. If y'all want the accreditation, like, not a problem. So I would guess it would probably take about a month and a half. We wanna get them in there before it gets too cold, but we can put them in there when it's cold, it doesn't matter. So a month and a half, 2 months.
So let me ask you, Mr. Miller, is your Eagle Scout project probably has a deadline, you have to be 18 by the time you finish your Eagle Scout? So when were you, in your mind, what was your timeline to start with initiatives?
If I got approval from you, of course, and then I got approval from the scouts, of course, and then a third approval, there's a lot of approvals that go into this. After it gets sent off to the district, then I was hoping to start construction, well, actually start on ordering things after I fill out the pamphlet, by September and finish in October. But that was a rough draft in my brain. It might be sooner, all things considered.
Yeah, but probably not, I mean, because oftentimes we think it's that fast.
I'd like to do it.
So just to be clear, and I hope we all caught that, I mean, I know Eagle Scouts, I think Robert probably does, but he doesn't just need our approval. He has to get other approvals through the scouting committee before he can even start it, but this is his first step, so.
And you'd be okay theoretically with a trial period, even though I imagine we'd all be incurring these costs regardless of if it continues. That'd be okay?
Well, yeah, so, you know, that cost that he's got on there, I mean, I kind of did a little cost analysis myself, that was with like purchasing another hive as well, so.
Okay.
I think that our costs coming in, especially if we're able to reuse all the stuff out there, it's gonna be pretty, you know, non-existent just for the startup, you know, 'cause I've already got all the stuff coming in, we got all the stuff to build what we need, it's basically the flyaway there is the only thing we really need to buy per se.
Just a point of clarification real quick, I'm not familiar with scouts. If we approve this and then later down the road we have to pull it out, does that put you in jeopardy
Of getting Eagle Scout?
Yes.
Let me be very frank, I am 17, going on 18, and whenever I turn 18, I will no longer be eligible as a scout to receive Eagle Scout. So, in the run of this, I am very behind when it comes to this because I left scouting for 2 years whenever COVID hit. Our troop had whittled so small and I had a lot of stress on me already. In that time, I was not a scout. I rejoined in, I think late freshman year, early sophomore year of my high school career, I suppose. And to me, the bee project is all that matters. If I do not receive Eagle Scout project, or Eagle Scout, sorry, because I do not have merit badges required, even though I am struggling to get them, then so be it. I will have made a beehive and I will have made my mark. That is all that matters to me.
If we give it the thumbs up, he's gonna be done with his Eagle project by the end of October.
Right.
Like, we're not gonna be backing out at that point, we may not even have bees at that time. I don't believe it even requires that he has the bees in the hives for it to be complete. He does the project, he says what it is, he builds it, it's complete, he's checked, he's Eagle Scout. If we back out in November, he's still Eagle Scout.
Okay, that's what I.
I think he's protected in case anything goes wrong on our end.
And his deal is like, he's, he's not beekeeping, he's just.
He's the closure.
He's
Okay.
putting our habitat up.
Okay.
And, he's done all the
So
research.
two
on
very
how far
separate
it needs to
things.
be.
Yeah. I see, Andreas raising his hand, this is kind of out of turn, but I'll definitely, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to add on to that, like, he has until his birthday to complete it, so it's.
Is March?
It's January 14th.
So like, if he's gonna finish it in October, or if there's another plan, that he has to come up with it, so I just wanted to add that in there.
Okay.
But you don't necessarily, I guess,
Thank you for that. Okay, let's go ahead, we have a motion, we have a second. I'm gonna go ahead and call, all in favor, aye.
I,
This is for the trial.
the trial.
Just to confirm, this is for the trial.
Yes, sir, yes.
Sorry, just want to make sure.
Yes, sir. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so it's 3-2, so it passed. So now we're gonna address the Eagle Scout project. Do I have a motion to approve the Eagle Scout project?
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the Eagle Scout project?
I got a question for, Eagle Scouts did a disc golf course in Comanche Tomlinson years ago. Eventually, not enough experts were involved at that time and had to come down. Can you commit to working with the resident expert and getting things built in a way that if everything is successful, we will not be undoing it and then redoing it somewhere else or undoing it permanently? Will you work with the bee experts?
Of course, if I can call consultants, get approvals from everywhere, and just reach out, networking to as many people as possible, then that would be ideal. I don't foresee any problem with me contacting anyone.
Thank you,
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the most of the stuff your proposal outside of the fencing stuff is stuff that even if we ended up not going forward with this, the trial didn't work or something, or the bees, I mean, that, I think at minimum, like, it could still be repurposed, right? Am I not wrong? Am I reading this? Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking, so, okay, thank you.
okay, so one thing I did share in executive is that, full transparency and disclosure, the Millers are some of my best friends. And Matt, I've worked with you a little bit and Brett on this, so going forward, I'm gonna have to step away to avoid, a potential, conflict of interest, even though there wouldn't be, but, so I, would offer it up to, Amanda's on the subcommittee, the amenities, I know Robert's very involved, in this, so I'm gonna let another director work with you on this, not because I don't believe in it, I do 100%, but I just need to do that, okay?
I would suggest that we ask Matt to pick between myself and Director Stanfield, let him pick who he wants to work with. I'm happy to, I suspect Director Stanfield would be as well, but I'd prefer that we keep it with the people that voted in favor of.
Yeah, that makes sense,
And you clearly know way more about this than I do, so I think it would be a smart move to work with Director Young. He has the expertise that I don't have in that area, but I would be more than willing to work with you if that's what you choose. So you'll have to
Well,
teach
you
me
know
the
what,
process.
actually what we could do, and I think it'd probably be good, is to do like an ad hoc subcommittee, so maybe the two of you could work together. That way you have two directors, so I'm happy to do that if you guys are, so. Okay, you guys can decide that later, but, okay,
Well, I think we should make the direction to have the ad hoc subcommittee created.
okay, I would like to direct Stanfield and Young to be ad hoc subcommittee, to work on this Eagle Scout project.
Okay, we need a second?
We seconded the motion you made, I seconded. Oh,
Oh, that was a
Now
different
we're
motion.
making, some ad hoc, so we need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion to.
I'll second
it.
We could just roll it.
Hold on to one, as part of the Eagle
So
Scout
we'll
project.
do it, you make the motion, I'll second, and we'll go forward there.
It's like do-si-do. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of the Eagle Scout project for Mr. Miller, along with the temporary, beehive with the ad hoc subcommittee? Yeah, do you have a question?
I kinda do, this might be thinking out loud, but I'm just wondering, in a world where 15 passed and 16, if 16 didn't pass, what would that even look like? I'm just,
Pass, what are you talking about?
well, we passed 15 beekeeping
Yeah.
considerations, right?
Uh-huh,
So if we didn't, I'm just wondering, if we didn't pass 16 somehow, which seems unlikely.
well, then it would go back to, Brett would probably go to the community garden and see who would help.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think through
But
all the
you,
implications.
you would, okay, I
That's
was
just,
about
that's,
to throw my pen at you, but.
no, I'm just trying to think through,
Yeah.
like I said, all the.
Yeah, no, that's
We have
not,
to have a different motion.
16 was conditional on 15, 15 is not conditional on 16. Was that your question? Okay,
Essentially,
let's vote, we had a first and a second,
yes, we did.
okay, all in favor of the Eagle Scout project, aye.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, congratulations. Sorry. No. Okay, I'm gonna step out for a second and dry my eyes, Shoemaker, will you continue on with the,
No, alright, 16,
It's in that.
17 is chicken coop. The chicken tenders informational, do we have anybody from the coop here to talk?
I don't
Cause
think
I
so.
don't have a tab in the packet.
Perhaps that was a leftover.
It was a left,
I
I
don't-
had actually asked Lisa to leave it on here, cause she keeps, we keep all kind of pulling it off and pushing it down, so I would like to ask the board that we put it on next month for a decision and not continue to push it back.
Agreed.
And get it done and let them move on, let us move on and not keep.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, correct, cause I originally, actually, when
Yeah,
when this came on, I thought this was actually a decision.
That's what I thought too, and
For
it's
this
not, so.
So,
to be sure, the designation of informational and
You can still make
decisions is really just advisory, it's not necessarily, you can take action anything on it, just to be sure.
well, I guess the problem I have, Sean, and maybe Rick's reason was like, not real clear what I'd be voting for or against tonight.
Yeah.
And I assume, am I wrong on this, like the chicken folks have a piece they wanna say too, so I feel a little bad. I don't wanna push it off, but I don't wanna be like, hey guys, we're gonna take action on your item, you weren't even here to say your piece, right? We're gonna be asked
I
questions.
suspect the five of us probably all have already decided through the different times that they've spoken to us. Now, if you're on the fence and maybe you could be swayed one way or another, still, then maybe we should postpone it, but I know how I wanna vote on this
I'm ready to vote.
through so far.
I agree with you in principle, but if I were them, I would be
I think, I agree with you in
upset
principle
if
too.
it was voted on without me having the chance.
I'm with you, if I was on their shoes, I'd be real mad if we picked it up tonight when it's listed as informational, they didn't have a chance to say anything in citizens'
That's fair.
comments.
Okay,
Maybe we could add it to.
So, but we gotta have it as a decision item, and I guess the question is on the decision item, the decision is to allow the coop, right? That's what we're voting on
Yes,
ultimately.
I feel like it's going to pass and we're just going slower. Just adding another month to the thumbs up, we just gave thumbs up to a potential hazard, for the community. I don't know that we would, say no to the chickens, but yes to the bees. I would like to give them the go-ahead if we could tonight, but if we're still on the fence, if there's still some more information that we can get from them that would sway you guys one way or another, then that's fine. I think they've presented a few times now.
And I do hate that they've been,
Yeah, I don't like
just like
pulling them
with
back.
you folks, I hate that the bees have been on the
Yeah.
agenda for so many.
Yeah, I don't like pulling them back, but at the same time as I hate to, well, I don't
don't know that it'll pass, that's what makes me nervous, to their point of if they're not here and there's questions, I don't
Okay.
know.
I think we're indecisive, so let's just go ahead and table it till October, make a decision,
It
and
needs to be a decision
That's
item.
September, yes, sorry,
That's
you're right.
Yeah, sorry, but it needs to be a decision item, Sean, if we can.
yeah, it does, I mean,
It doesn't, but just
It doesn't,
for
but yes.
announcing purposes,
And-
like, we are making a decision.
and I know Lisa's probably still on, but Amy, let's make sure that we reach out to Sedge and let him know.
If they wanna be here, if they don't wanna be here,
Yeah.
great, but
Which September meeting, a special meeting?
The
or
second
special
one.
The
board?
regular.
Because I think what I'll say that helped tonight, whether we voted for or against the V's, is very clear proposal from the V folks.
that's great.
And we had a discussion about having the probationary period, right, that temporary period, right, which would not have been in their probation if they had not been here to talk with us about, might not have been a thing. So I guess that's my concern, is that if they have other things they'd like to amend, as we discussed with them.
Alright, we're gonna table it, we're gonna make it as a decision in September, and, Amy and Lisa will let them know. Okay, number 18, it's Tomlinson Playscape, this is a grand opening ceremony. As you guys all probably saw, most of the equipment was delivered, this week, it's really starting to move. It's really exciting, we're probably looking at about 4 more weeks, so, I think our punch list is the end of September, looking at a grand opening in October. What we're looking for is basically a decision, I think we should have a grand opening ceremony, a ribbon cutting. I don't have budget, I don't have anything on that.
It was in the,
It's on item 18, it shows
Yeah.
an estimated 2,000 to 3,000.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve?
second,
Okay, any more discussion?
Are we, to be clear, are we approving the concept and then this budget range generally with a better budget to follow? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, is September we'll have more detail, and
Oh, I'm
I
sorry,
don't
yeah,
know,
I'm
anyone
sorry.
wants to participate, I know Nebraska Furniture Mart will be out there, I mean, it'll, yeah, so.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna get other folks integrated.
Okay, alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Proposal for your courts regarding use of reservation and district sports courts and recreational facilities. Lisa, are you on? Do you want to discuss this?
I am. I have brought this information to you guys a couple of months ago. Basically, your courts would allow for us to incorporate all of the reservation areas in the district, which would be your pavilion, Germano building, as well as the Chance Field area. And we can discuss how we can incorporate the garden rentals into that as well. Essentially, this would allow for residents to look online, see their available slot, go ahead and book that slot, and then allow for us to be able to just kind of really monitor just the refund on that. Essentially, if we're looking at 4 resources, or if we decide to do more, we're looking at anywhere from $350 to $530 in an annual year or fiscal year. What we'll see with this is that the reason I'm bringing it up now is that if you guys approve it, then I can go ahead and get the platform backside of it built, and we have 30 days of a free trial of this. So essentially running it all of September to see how it looks. I do have another item on the agenda that discusses fees at the recreational facilities. And if we did decide to go ahead and take those fees on, this actually would go ahead and pay for this your court system without the district actually having to pay any fees out of pocket itself.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve 19, agenda item 19?
Motion.
second,
Lisa, so you're thinking 4, because we don't reserve the individual courts, is that right?
That's correct.
But something that we need to consider going along with this is we're gonna have to update the park rules, and so then the new subcommittee needs to work on that in the next couple of weeks and bring that to the September regular meeting, because we're gonna include fees and such, so it needs to be updated, okay?
Right.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's 5-0. All right, fiber drop at Apache Pool Pump, we already discussed that, yes,
I'm sorry, I was
Yeah,
gonna
so
come
that-
back to if you like, but you're good, or he's, sorry.
yeah, so I don't think there's
You
anything
can-
more to discuss there.
There's not.
Yeah,
You
I
can
don't-
find that memo in the packet, but essentially it's just going to require the GM, myself, to go in, reach out to AT&T and get that set up. So we're good with that one.
So we do need to make a decision on that?
No.
The only reason I wanted to make sure it was brought up to the board was because we're gonna be cutting into mud property. Cause this was my suggestion to look at this. Lisa, is there any cost associated with this?
From the information that been provided, essentially no. It's just a matter of me calling up AT&T and them connecting us.
Great.
Okay, so no decisions made, that actually can just be a directive for Lisa to go ahead and pursue that. Okay, thank you. 21, proposal for dig dug construction for the demo and hall, the softball field.
We're gonna table that one so that we can
Yeah.
find out if the bonds are gonna cover that.
Okay, great. 22, proposal of Twin Electric for the electric lights at Tomlinson Fort Playscape. And the estimates in there, and it's my
I
understanding from
recommend-
the conversation.
I was gonna ask
Okay.
if we could table this one as well so that we could go back to bond counsel and Sean, if that's okay, to confirm that this money would actually be covered under that item as well.
Yeah, when would we be, what's the timeline on this, Lisa?
So if we take it back to the regular September meeting, it would be roughly about 4 weeks in total, depending on the digging and so forth. Clearly, the playscape would already be operational by then. If we bring it to the September meeting, we might be able to fall in line with the punch list and actually get the cameras and lights installed by the time of the grand opening in October.
Yeah, I've communicated with bond counsel on this. We feel pretty good about an affirmative answer here, but.
So it'd be a change order, or we'd actually have to.
No, I don't, I think that, I mean, it would be independent of the existing
Okay,
contract, is
okay.
that what you mean, or?
No, it would, if it's independent, it wouldn't be a change order. Okay,
Right, yeah.
all right.
So, I just wasn't sure how long it was gonna take, and then, obviously, we probably want this to run contemporaneously with the building of the actual playscape, so.
Yeah, the last thing I wanna do is have the playscape open and then have to shut it down.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so no action right now.
And to be sure, I think the one question I have, Lisa, we haven't actually talked about this, but I think I know the answer. Everything that's proposed to be installed here is very specific to the playscape, correct?
That's exactly correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let's move along. Additional district recreational facility fees. So, again, I think the next step in that is to change the park rules. Amanda, do you agree?
I agree.
Lisa, do you agree?
Yes, I agree. So we can bring this back in September. We would include exhibit, what is it? My exhibit L with that. And at that time, if you all decide that you want to move forward, then clearly at that point, we would update exhibit L with those rule changes.
Okay, and I know, we discussed it a little bit with budget as far as the revenue that would come in, but we didn't wanna really put it in there because we weren't sure if we were gonna have that revenue, so it's just something, okay? All right, moving along, Walker House parking lot safety concerns, that's in your packet. That is the grapevine that's growing all over, so there's a proposal, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second,
Second?
any discussion?
I'm confused what the motion is,
To approve the removal of the.
What are we approving the removal of the grapevine, or are we approving the building of a trellis?
Yeah.
Removal of
No,
the
it's
grapevine.
removal of the grapevine.
Okay, sorry, it was confusing from the.
Is there a cost associated with it? I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's a cost, it should be,
Oh, $1,000?
Yeah.
$1,000.
This is where
No,
it's
just that
confusing,
alone.
there's,
No,
That was
what
the
we're
cost, I couldn't be.
but
what
Lisa-
we would need to do is we actually have more than 542 hours that are being used in creek remediation. I would ask Clint to pull back some of those hours and utilize that to be able to remove the grapevine. They are in the throes of actually doing creek remediation, but given that we don't have a solid budget for it and it is a safety item, I would ask them to go in and consider utilizing some of those funds to be able to remove that grapevine.
So there's no cost right now?
There's no
It's already
cost.
part of
There's
the
no
contract.
cost if we can utilize those funds from that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Amenities report is in the packet. Report from PR subcommittee is in the packet. I'm gonna mention one thing, this is something a couple of directors have mentioned, it's just how we are utilizing the website right now and managing it. So Lisa, do you wanna address that right now, or do you wanna, because we already talked about budget, do you wanna talk about this?
I'm happy to address this. Essentially, what we found out is that with Granicus, we don't own the website. And clearly, utilizing Granicus, we've paid more than $30,000 from the 2020 year all the way up until current. We have a 90-day out with Granicus right now. Essentially, we would need to get an approval here sooner than later because their contract would renew in November. What we're looking for is actually go into 620 Studios and allowing for them to create a WordPress website for us. It would be roughly about 11,000 and change for them to do a one-time fee of creating this website that would be more interactive, that would allow for us to be able to go in and make changes to it, as opposed to Granicus holding this on their platform. It's very difficult to utilize. I think besides Steve, Andrew might be the only other one that's able to go in and make a few postings on this website essentially, or this platform. But we're looking at getting away from it. The district would own it. After the 12,000 or 11,000 and change of creating the new website, there would be no additional cost as far as the website is concerned. So we would clearly pay 620 Studios whenever we're trying to update and things to that effect. It would allow for us to have a digital blog, if you will, replacing the newsletter, which would give us an opportunity to have more content. And so this is definitely something that I'd like for the board to consider. And again, it's not actually an agenda item, but definitely wanted to discuss it with you all.
So WordPress wants to charge for like a governmental use of their web development tool. That's a part of the cost. We're paying 620 and then 620's paying WordPress?
No, so Granicus isn't a WordPress. That they have, and my website acronyms are definitely way off, but it's like a CRM or a CRU type of system that it's governmental platformed. We would be moving away from that, going into WordPress. So right now, 620 Studios is the only one that can go in and make changes to our website right now. Granicus, they host it for us. They own the website. They're very difficult to get into contact with, but we actually do pay them every year a little bit more than $6,000.
Okay, so I think we're having a misunderstanding. Granicus is kind of like WordPress, although they may be doing something else. It's basically your web development tool. What you're going, like, I could go into WordPress and I could make edits, or I can go into Granicus if I had permissions and I could go make edits to my website or whatever. What I'm concerned about is if we're moving to a different company than 620 right now?
No, we're staying with 620. We're leaving Granicus, and Granicus isn't WordPress. Granicus requires a lot more on the backside to actually go in and change an item.
I understand, but are we also going to be on the hook to pay WordPress directly?
There's no.
No, from the information that I have and the estimate that I have from 620 Studios, this is a one-time as far as going in and creating the website.
So the one time is the transfer from the Granicus format to the WordPress. WordPress does have free versions, but that's for...
It's not a transfer.
Well, they're moving the website from where it is now to the new.
Right, but we would essentially be building a new website. We wouldn't just be transferring it over.
Well, but I think
semantics.
Yeah, that I think it's a transferring concept, if not literally.
The content is being moved over.
Right.
Yes.
So right now, are we paying Granicus and we're paying 620?
Yes.
So my concern is we are going to be paying 620 and we're gonna be paying WordPress because they don't do that for free.
Yeah, I was looking at
It's a
something.
one-time fee to WordPress. Okay, but those are really good questions, all three of you. It's not on the agenda. I
Yeah,
was trying to help, like, get this in front of us. I would like to have, so it is communications. Director Shoemaker, I know, are you available to work on it with me, or,
Potentially starting next week.
okay, let the subcommittee work on it and bring it to the board, because I know Robert knows a lot about this and is gonna ask some good questions. I know Johnson has been asking about it, as well as Stanfield.
Yeah, and I've got some questions about the studio talk.
Yeah, so, but instead of taking up time tonight, let us do some work, bring it to you, and then you guys can dig into us. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, nothing on the newsletter. Actually, this newsletter was fantastic. Hope you guys had a chance to look at it. So we have restrictive covenants. Do you guys have anything?
No, there's nothing for the board to consider.
Yay! Okay, professional services, TDS, anything? Oh, yeah.
TDS, so I just wanted to let everybody on the board know, in case you hadn't heard, and also people listening, we were talking with Jamar from TDS and trying to get a report on how well what I'm calling curbside bulk was. And so they don't really keep track of each house that they go to, because that would be bedlam. So what they track is tonnage. And so the pickup for that curbside bulk was 2.54, he said, times what we get at a typical Jumano pickup. So one way to look at it is that we picked up curbside bulk more than we that one time, more than we picked up an entire year of Germano, which we have no plans or intentions to get rid of the Germano pickups, but it was very successful. A lot of
That's
people got stuff
huge.
taken, we didn't have to, nobody had to wait in that horrible line, and, or even leave their house, really, you just gotta get it to the curb.
Yeah,
So,
Wilco didn't have to be out there, and honestly, I didn't hear any complaints about how much stuff was on the curbs, it was actually pretty
Nor did I.
clean.
Yeah.
So, well done, kudos.
It was good, and, so like I said, we're gonna continue with both.
Yeah.
But it was successful.
'Cause I think we'll good turnout for the Germano one, I think we've always had, so
Yeah.
I think we've definitely improved our ability to get stuff out.
Good job, okay, anything on, stormwater management program?
No.
I don't think so.
We don't have
Okay,
anything.
Professional services subcommittee, do you guys have anything on the professional subcommittee? Okay.
No.
General manager, your report's in the packet,
3B, 30B.
yeah, Cub Scouts, okay, so, Andres is here, if he wants to answer any questions, so, I know most of the directors aren't aware. So, you guys know that we had, I believe you were here with, David Wood. They brought a packet in front of us, and it was a Cubs packet, I think we're all under the impression it was Scouts. And it was Cubs, and it was basically, behavior expectations. And we laid them out pretty clearly, we had, some really good meetings prior to it, the board agreed to it. I don't think anybody ever signed off on it, Sean, and I think maybe you have a little input on that. But, last week, we had another incident, and it clearly shows in that behaviors packet, it has a schematic of Kumano and the land, and it shows where the Scouts cannot be. It was clearly in that area. There's a bunch of pea gravel that was deposited over there, and so some of your Scouts were over there playing around, some of your older Scouts tried to get them to leave, it took a little bit, it's all on video. I did reach out to David and said, hey, what's going on? Lisa sent him the video. Andres, you reached out to me, and you know how I felt about that. I was very concerned because, your response to me was, well, you'd hope the gardeners would come and let you know if the Scouts are out of line. Well, I mean, we can read it, but it's basically like, you wish that they had come and talked to you. Yeah,
but
that's not our role, that's nobody's role, the role is yours as the scout troop leader and the parents there, they're the ones that have to keep those guys in line. So, the amenity subcommittee talked about it, and with Lisa, and the decision was made, and I talked to Sean, it really needs to be the board making this decision, is that going forward, we need to have, David Wood, who's the one that signed off on that PAC behavior document, be there if you're having a meeting, because the supervision is not, what it needs to be. And
so
then,
we didn't meet, just to clarify, we didn't meet the expectation as far as what supervision is.
the supervisions that are outlined in that packet you did not meet,
Yeah,
which
okay.
was,
So I
the Scouts cannot go onto mud property that they're not allowed to be on, meaning those piles. I highlighted it, to David, and that you cannot be in those areas of Humana Park.
Okay.
That's where you failed to meet what the packet said, okay? So, the frustration here is, and man, I know you're a friend, I know that your Scouts do a hell of a lot for our community. And the last thing I wanna do is say you guys can't use Humana, cause you guys give a lot to the district, but let me finish. We cannot continue to come back every couple of months and have these issues. So, I'm gonna stop talking, I'm gonna let my counterpart say her deal.
Yeah, I think where some of the confusion, and correct me if it's been resolved, but in the process of understanding this, the agreement was with the Cub Scouts. And you guys are separate to an extent from the Cub Scouts. So when we initially said that David needed to be there with them, we did not know that that was a separation. We had a meeting and that wasn't clearly communicated to us. So, I think our next steps is having the same agreement signed by your group. Because right now, technically, there's nothing signed.
Yeah, and actually, I don't want it split by Cubs and by the different levels. I want it as scouting agreement, I guess is my suggestion to the board. It's a scouting agreement.
I hear that, however, we are two separate entities and we have separate boards and separate things. And I know David has, like, he has a lot of kids, they're in both organizations.
But you are Troop 171, under the scouting, it's not BSA anymore, but you.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, so under Scouting America or whatever they call it
Right.
now, like, that's us, we're Troop 171. The Cub Scouts is under, I guess, the same umbrella, but it's a different thing. They're chartered completely different from what we are. We are chartered through Hill Country Bible Church, and they're chartered through the VFW.
Then that makes sense for it to be.
They're two different organizations,
Yeah.
much like if you had like Girl Scout troops, you have different ones, they each have a different
That makes
charter.
sense, that makes sense.
So, I'm gonna apologize if that was the confusion. Because I thought I was clear earlier as far as like what a communication pathway would be if like we were to be notified or whatever it was. So that part I just wanted to like truly understand like what is the process and then also just clarify
Yeah.
that.
Have you seen this agreement?
I briefly read it, yes.
Okay, so you are aware of it.
Aware, like, as far as like, through the Cubs, yeah, but I didn't understand like as far as like.
Cubs are what age?
Cubs go from kindergarten through.
Third. Fifth?
Fourth.
Fifth
Fourth?
or fourth.
Or if it's like halfway through fifth grade, they transfer over.
Okay, so does David Woods Cubs meet at Humana?
David Woods, Liz's son, yes,
They do, okay, alright, just need clarification on
but
that.
his older son, Andrew, is in archery. So he's.
Yeah, it is early, I got you, okay. I know our agreement said third grade and under, we're not meeting at Humana. But that Cub packet clearly showed what you can and cannot do, and that's what was violated.
Okay.
So I feel like we're arguing a little bit over semantics, but I understand you guys are chartered differently. So let's get the correct documents in place, so everybody's on the same page. I still feel, because there's been repeated issues, that we have to do something different tonight going forward. I don't feel like this document is gonna help with the oversight with, correct me if I'm wrong, and board, please step in, please.
Guys, I feel like there's a mentality in anybody that a fully developed brain, that when you're in a fenced-in area, that's your boundaries. I think it's time for the garden people to finish staking their territory, put up some posts, put some things across, and at some point, we help them fund a fence.
Let me just help you real quick with this, because the areas that the scouts were in last week had nothing to do with the garden area.
It's in the spot behind the building
It
where
is
there's.
behind the building where the people, it has nothing to do with the garden.
But
previous ones have.
Yeah.
But we can garden that, if they're not, the problem is when they're inside that fence, they think that whole area is where they could go.
That's why we have this map that clearly dictated where they can and cannot
I
go.
think he means from the perspective of the kids at the moment.
Then maybe they
If
want somewhere.
if the fence is, perhaps we need a fence or something to delineate that for an 8-year-old kid to know that like, hey, I can't go past that.
So then we put a fence around the Humana building, is what we're saying.
I would say we put it along the lines of exactly where it is, where they're not to go.
Which is?
That they can go to the building in that little area, the little parking, the little asphalt area, but not behind the building and not on the garden side.
So we're gonna spend taxpayer money, and I don't mean to be argumentative, but I'm just trying to ask this. We're gonna spend taxpayer money to put fencing up so the scouts know where they cannot go because they cannot follow the procedure that we put in place.
We no longer allow, or we rarely allow this to be a community center to meet. We do the Christmas stuff, but we don't have a facility. And I thought at some point the park plan was to use that mono building for that. So we should have a document that if you're gonna use it, these are the rules.
We have that.
But we're gonna have the knitting club probably still wants to get in there. I know Sandy wants to do some wine tastings over there in Mono maybe one day.
And if we segmented that out to where that's part and not, and I'd be, even if I'm taking the fence down, that's, you know, that's there, but moving a fence, so if nobody should be going there without some sort of permission, put it behind a fence, and you need to get to the beehive or the chicken coop or whatever you do, you gotta have some sort of permission, and you signed a waiver, you read a sign as you're going through a fence or whatever, but it is sensitive stuff back there. And, you know, the building, it's gonna be a public building for people to meet. They're gonna be crossing, the invisible barrier.
Okay, so I think that, you know, the Boy Scout, Cub Scout delineation, okay. But to Robert's point, I picture my kids, and yeah, they might think that because they're in the same fenced area. I'm wondering though, like, cause that doesn't necessarily need to be a 6 feet tall chain link fence, it needs to be a visual obstruction, right, to your point about taxpayer money. So I'm wondering if like Clint has, or maybe Crossroads has, some of those wooden stakes with the bright pink plasticky stuff, just to stake it out, and then it's a visual obstruction, and if we do those two things, get the right document to the right group this time, and then spend a few dollars staking that stuff out, and then say, there will not be another incident.
I hear you. We also have stuff that's up against the wall itself. We have rain barrels and stuff, so now we need to fence all that in. Go ahead.
For me, and just, you know, we have a different view because we're on the committee and working through it and dealing with all the different sides of it. It's beyond just putting a fence and trying to figure it out, because we've had blocking before of, you know, don't go over in this area. It's more of a.
I wanna just like also add that, like, I mean, I did see the video, and like the piles, the pebble piles that were being climbed on. So we have a rule where if it's above the height of you're not allowed to climb it unless you have protection. It was not necessarily perceived as a danger.
Andres?
So I would say moving in the future, we can keep them away from that. I mean, but it was just, we're also insured and everything else.
Andres, those piles were taller than some of your children that were on it, and that's not your property to climb. So it doesn't matter if you have insurance.
But we didn't also, there wasn't any restrictions, so I.
But that's not the point. It's not your property for your scouts to climb on.
I understand, okay.
We're like, we have a fenced in area over here.
I think you're going to an extreme as far as like putting up extra fences and getting all that other stuff. I mean, what?
All we want is supervision.
We'll get it. We'll have
But you haven't had it.
Okay, but.
What I'm hearing is.
We can.
You
We can modify it. What was under my impression is that like, we're trying to teach the boys leadership skills, and yes, I mean, they were in an area that we're not supposed to go. They tried to bring them back. They seemed to do it, it took a while, but they did.
And I get that, yeah.
And I'm just like, as far as like, we can support that moving forward as well, as far as like, we ain't going behind the building. Alright, that's it. You can stay in the front, along the porches, don't climb the fences, don't do this, stay around here. We can modify our agendas to make sure that we're getting the stuff that we need to get done during these meetings. And be a little bit more organized, yeah, I can take that feedback, that's great. I don't, as far as like, we always have a resident, we always have a resident present there. It's either me, Dave, or Trey, or some other folks that live in the neighborhood. We're always there, we're always present. I'm just kind of like, as far as, yeah.
So what concerns me, Andres, is the rules are there. and they were broken. And instead of, yes, we lacked, we didn't have the right supervision, what I'm hearing is, but we've got insurance. But it's, the rule, wait, let me finish, but the rule is, they can't climb over something this height. Like, I'm hearing excuses of why they were on property that didn't belong to them. So that's my concern, instead of just saying, you're right, we failed on the supervision, and we need to correct that.
And that's what I'm really wanting to say, and, yes.
We have
So what is the purpose of Humana? But let's
That's where we-
step way back real quick. You spend an inordinate amount of time between disc golf and the people that use the building and the community garden, because apparently no one is capable of functioning back there as reasonable adults. What is the purpose of the park?
It's a
I
community
can
park.
outline what the purpose of Tumlinson is, but we just seem to struggle mightily for everybody to go back in Jumano and behave appropriately. I think this is ridiculous.
What's your
I'm sorry to lose
recommendation?
my temper. My recommendation honestly is, for starters, I think there is a reasonable expectation for the community garden folks to talk to the scouts, and the scouts to talk to community garden folks. I understand the desire to have people behave appropriately. I think Director Young has a valid point. If you put minors in a place inside a larger area that's a public area, right? This is a public property, right? And all this property is public. There is no private property back there. They're liable to get on the disc golf course, to go to the community garden. And I think the point is that at some level, we've got to find a way to make it work. And if the answer is also we can't find a way to work, we have to change the uses, I'm fine with that. But I think that us haggling endlessly about who's using the building and how, and it's causing issues to the community garden, or it's causing issues for disc golf, we need to find a way to get some kind of final resolution on this.
So let me be very
Sorry.
clear, one more time, it has nothing to do with the community garden. Community garden is not involved in this issue that happened last week, it has nothing to do with disc golf. It has to do with the scouts being on mud property, all the piles of, we're talking 10-foot high.
I'm not saying the scouts' behavior is good, Director Logan.
I know, but
I'm saying
but
we are
you're,
constantly discussing issues occurring in
well, then
Jumano.
maybe that's the issue, maybe Humano's not the right place for the scouts.
If,
I don't know.
okay, which I think is the heart of it, but I would like it to be a place for the scouts.
I
I'd
would
like it to be for the Cubs, I'd love it to be for the vegan, like everybody, but if we allow girls or whoever to start meeting there will be people that bring their kids and they go climb a pile of pebbles. That is just going to happen. We keep our valuable stuff that we keep it behind a fence. There's all sorts of stuff kept over here. We keep stuff inside the Mono building in the back side of it that we wanna protect. If we are gonna be, using that land back there to hold pebbles for a while, it needs to be designated with fencing or something better than just, like, let's have people sign waivers and promise
Well,
them
I
they
guess
won't do stuff.
the first easier to start that's vastly cheaper is simply some kind of low-level signage of keep off. Do we even engage in that in some parts around Jumano? Do we have the stuff around Jumano
Yeah,
Park to
Travis put
basic
that
keep off
orange, what do you call it, Travis, the orange
the tape?
temporary
Okay.
fencing, the temporary fencing, he
That was what I was talking about.
he
Yeah, I think
absolutely
that's what
could
you're
have done
talking
that,
about, yeah.
absolutely, but it gets back to the core issue that concerns the subcommittee, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, is the supervision is lacking.
Sure.
But I get your point, Andres, that that's a teaching point to it, and you're having the older scouts go out there and help teach them. We just don't have a lot of, room to teach those kids, because one of them could have fallen in. I know you got insurance, but they could have been down in there, something could have happened.
Something could have happened, we're also, and I'm not
Yeah,
saying that it can't and it won't,
right.
but we're also trained, we train them for first aid, we train them how to respond, we train them.
But that's not the point.
But it is, because it provides a safe environment for them to do these things. And
Georgia
and
Johnson.
to practice these skills, and that's what I guess, my main idea is that is what we are providing. And
But the mud is not providing you an area to have accidents happen to practice your first aid skills. And that's what I'm hearing.
even then, I'm saying an accident doesn't have to happen in order to practice first aid skills. But even if we go to a camp and we go hike somewhere else, like say if we go to White Sands or any of the monuments that we decide to go travel to, we're climbing on dunes and then a kid falls, breaks his arm, our kids are gonna know how to tend that, how to pick him up, how to drag him, call 911, do all the stuff that we need to do, but we're not gonna go after the park. We're not gonna go after.
No, but the park may go after you if you guys are doing something you're not supposed to do there, because they have rules in place, just like we have rules in place.
But they allow people to climb the dunes. They
But
allow
we're not
people
allowing you to climb our pea gravel dunes.
And if, like, we were notified that.
You were
they
notified.
there,
You were.
if the pea gravel was there, then I would at least like to know.
It's in the non-zone area. Go
So,
ahead, Johnson, I'm losing my temper also.
So my suggestion is that, you know, we give you all this document, and that perhaps a better perspective or a more useful perspective would be where the scouts are allowed to be, not an exhaustive list of where they're not allowed to be. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, I guess, I understand that, as far as the parking areas and.
yeah, they're allowed to be in these areas, and if it's not on that list, then they're not allowed to be there. So my suggestion is to do that and have it signed, and then,
By September,
yes,
let's have a deadline.
yep, and then, Germano is a better choice. The scouts prefer Germano over the pavilion because it's inside, instead of like, why not be here at the pavilion?
Probably because it is inside, it's probably a better place for you guys to meet, right? 'Cause
Well,
you're-
as far as like, we're having our Scoutmaster conferences and board reviews, yes, it's nice to have an air-conditioned building for us to do that in,
Yeah.
cause that is where we review the boys as far as advancement goes and how they've
Well,
achieved their ranks and everything else, so.
yeah, well, for the adults, I'm assuming that a meeting of all the adults is probably not an issue, right? It's only the ones with the kids. Where we have these
I'm not
channels.
sure, I'm not understanding the question.
The boards review occurred meetings with the kids.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Okay.
So there's all.
Boards of review occur meetings where children also present, like, if you don't usually do it absent, scouts.
Right, the board review is for the scouts when they've achieved their requirements to rank up.
Gotcha, and they're there.
The adults are there present to listen to whatever they have to ask questions, it's like a job interview.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
it's kind of like
That
how they
answers my
advance up in their ranks.
Okay, so what are next steps?
My suggestion is, as I said, to give the Boy Scouts that document, and if there continue to be issues, then they're moved or
Okay.
internally or.
Can we also do a better job of sectioning it off with the tapes or whatever? If we've got anything that a kid might wanna go jump on and climb on, let's put a fence around it, something that says,
Good,
don't come here.
let's just go the whole thing orange tape, yes, we can, I'm being facetious,
I
because
don't
I'm
think it's
exhausted
necessary,
and
but yeah, I think the list is
I'm
fine
frustrated.
and,
Okay.
we can do that. Travis, do you mind,
I just want, I want to chime in because I want people to be aware that when you're saying put a fence around everything, out at Germano specifically, we have rain barrels. You know, we have this rod fencing. We have fencing right now around wood. I mean, we're going to exhaust our parks and putting fencing up everywhere where we're seeing fencing that, like I said, whether it's there or not, they're not adhering. So I just want to make that comment so that we're aware that we can continue to put fencing just like we can put signs, but it's still going to be going back to the fact that we're looking at supervisional issues.
well, we've got those rain barrels that have been there, we're not using them anymore, I don't know, like.
well, we're gonna
why-
have to
why
fence
would
off the rain barrels now.
Well, I think that we have plenty of storage for all that stuff inside the building, in the non-AC part, but, let's put stuff.
But that gets my point about like what we're doing, right? I get we wanna store stuff for the garden, but that gets my point, like if we're using the building to store the stuff, right, then we're not using the building for the building, right? And that's why I get to my point, like, what are we doing back there?
Right, so my suggestion to resolve maybe both of those issues, at least temporarily, is that make it clear in the document. So to make it clear in the document, that the fencing is meant for a visual cue, that the fencing does not designate what's allowed or not allowed. The stuff behind the fence is not allowed, but if something could not be roped off and still be not allowed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think the document explains it and
Okay.
we can.
Work around that.
I'm not a fan of putting the fencing up just because that area back there is already, there's multiple different uses, and so like if you start fencing, you're gonna have to fence off more than you should. I think if all it takes is having a meeting and you sitting down and every scout has this picture, memorize it, you know where you can go.
They'll get it.
They're old enough to be able to make a choice on where to go.
But it kind of get back to that's my point that we were Rob's like, I don't wanna force the community garden people not to store stuff, right? But at some point, like,
They're not storing stuff.
no, the barrels, they're
That's
not.
not community garden.
Who's the
Let's-
barrels for?
It's the mod, it's the priority landscape. I'm sorry, but you keep saying community garden has nothing to do with this
My
at
understanding is
all.
the people, okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding here, because this originally came as they were in the community garden and our materials. Am I wrong on this? It's just
You're
our
absolutely
materials?
wrong, they were not in the community garden.
They were just in our materials.
Our mud
Yes,
materials,
okay,
the pea
yes.
gravel, yes.
Okay, I have a motion. I motion that, the amenity subcommittee, takes the document that was signed with the Cub Scouts, makes any updates that are necessary to make it appropriate for the Boy Scouts, and they sign it by September or whatever's appropriate, and there are no further issues.
I'll second. Sure, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, 5-0, okay, is that good?
Thank you. Oh, are you saying?
Alright, thank you. Alright, we only have a couple more items, before I think some of us lose it. So, legal.
All right, I think we have our updated general manager agreement here. And there are only a few minor changes in here. I have a red line copy. Just pass this out real quick.
Thank you.
You got a copy of this, right?
No, this
I don't
one,
think it's on the
It's
packet.
not
I think it might, well, it might have been an after packet item. I'm not
This looks
positive.
like it, but, okay.
Yeah, I think this is just the red line version maybe. So not too many changes. Lisa, do you wanna go through this or do you want me to?
John, why don't you go through it?
Okay. So this is, generally speaking, you see the red lines, guys. There isn't a lot of changes in here. I will just point out what I consider to be the material ones. Starting with, so we pushed the dates out here at the front of the document. We have an updated monthly amount in the compensation section on what is section 3. We define within section 5A the total amount of time that the general manager will be present at the Walker House at 24 hours each week. And then on page 4, we have a new section 5 that provides for the work that Amy and Travis are doing in terms of broadcasting the meetings. I've integrated some of the language that we utilized in our IT consultant contracts just to ensure that sensitive information relating to IT stuff is kept confidential. And I think that's generally it. Very kind of minor changes that I've already mentioned on the front end. I don't think there's anything else here.
One thing I'll just add is, so Amy and Travis have been kind of in training, so they've been together. But going forward, I think after this meeting, they'll just be in it one person at a time. So, and it's actually really awesome that you guys were willing and wanting to do this, and it's, I think it's worked out really good.
Yes.
So
I
thank
think
you.
not having to do both.
I know, me too.
We
Yeah.
appreciate y'all taking on this.
Yes.
Thank you, yeah.
It's very important.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask, this does not expire till the end of September. There's not a lot of changes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second? All, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, 5-0. Next is, temporary crosswalk,
Did
sorry.
you talk about this earlier, we were talking connect
I did, I was just gonna say, we already talked about, it, so I don't know if there's anything more to discuss there. Legislative updates, can you make it quick?
I sure can.
This is the longest meeting.
There it is.
And the lawyer make it quick.
This one's easy though.
What if I describe each bill in 5 words and we'll see if David can guess the bill?
Well, that's what I'm worried about, is David sitting here.
Is this different than what's in the packet? The packet one's pretty simple, the one about the change of the posting?
Yes.
1522,
Yeah,
right?
so yeah, that.
See, it's already not.
That was that was a special alert now, so, but I will talk very quickly about 1522, so I will stay high level on all this stuff. So the first bill in here that is, it doesn't really affect y'all in terms of your service. And my brief overview here is, what you're not gonna see is any major changes to the substantive laws relating to the major functions that you guys undertake.
Okay.
No big changes about how you provide utility services, nor how you pay for things or stuff like that. Most of the stuff in here are transparency issues, been a growing trend for local governments over the past 5, 6, 7, 8 legislative sessions. 1522 is a bill that completely redefined how we have to, the time periods associated with the posting of your agendas. Used to be 72 hours, now it is 3 business days, so that takes out weekends. That takes out days like today, which is LBJ's birthday and is a state holiday. So again, unfortunately, business days is not well defined well, it's not defined at all in the act. In addition to that, you now have to post copies of your budget whenever you have a meeting to contemplate your budget, or to adopt the budget. Not a big deal for y'all, your budget actually spans a couple of pages, we'll work on that for your meeting that's coming up here. A lot of budgets for months fit on 1 page, or we have like the City of Austin budget, which I think is like this thick, I don't know how those guys are gonna compile it.
Let me just ask real quick, so our budget's usually in our packet, so that would qualify as posting it, correct?
No, it has to be posted like with the actual agenda, so,
okay.
yeah. It was, a well-intended, change, but I think it's gonna be tricky for a lot of folks. I'm gonna keep moving here, you guys are welcome to keep these and ask me questions later if you like, or just reach out. On page 2, under the Texas Public Information Act, or TPIA, the AG's office will now be essentially assembling a database that will have contact information for all public entities, just in case someone wants to go to a single source to get TPIA contacts. At the bottom of this page, which David is probably familiar with, HB 103 creates a new database for the comptroller's office to maintain. There's already the special purpose district database. This creates a new local government bond, tax, and project database. So all local government entities will be required to report information to the comptroller's office going back to 2015, and then on an annual basis going forward related to the topics that I just mentioned. Going down on page 3, cybersecurity and AI, HB 1500 relates to cybersecurity training. Initially, there was a lot of paths that required cybersecurity training for all local government officials. This was eventually kind of pulled back. The change to HB 1500 now brings it back, so that is something that you guys can look forward to. HB 3512 was the omnibus bill aimed at AI training programs and various AI topics for local governments. There are going to be model policies that you guys will probably have the pleasure of adopting here. Some AI training may also come out of this as well. One of the probably better bills that passed for most Texans, page 4 under elections, is that early voting now syncs up with regular voting. In the past, you could early vote up to X day, and then there'd be days you couldn't vote, and you could vote on actual election day. Now you can vote, early vote right up to election day. A couple other bills we've included in here relating to restricted covenants, CCM stuff, as well as impact fees, but I've given you a very high level overview here. You guys are welcome to look through this.
So the cybersecurity training actually only applies to government employees and officials who use a database or computer system to complete at least 25% of their duties. I don't think any of us have access to any system, so that really would apply to our staff, across our staff and not us.
That's correct, Sean, right?
So that, this is, so this changes the standard, it says it applies to officials instead of those with access to, yeah, so.
Oh, I was reading your expanded, I misunderstood your comment,
That's what it used to say.
Oh, okay, alright. Alright, so then we should make sure, at least we'll work with you to find a
We'll be in
training.
touch, yeah.
Sean, can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
517 at the bottom. I see the note down there, so we are not, can please confirm, we are not a property owners association?
Yeah, this technically doesn't apply to you guys, but I would be.
Policy consideration.
Yeah,
at the
policy,
bottom.
yeah,
Okay.
that's why we included it, good question.
Okay, alright, thank you. Okay, 38, so we have 2 more items, and we'll go through this quickly, but 38, improperly parked travel trailer behind 3301 Spelunky. Sean, Lisa, you wanna address this?
Yeah, I'm happy to, so we got word, Spumani Lane.
It's over by the
lift station.
Yep.
Lisa, this one we saw back in the summer?
Yes, that's correct. It's still there as of today.
It's either there or the next corner over, I can't.
I think you're right, I think it's this one.
Yeah, I think so.
There's the lift station right here.
Yeah, the house is to the
So there is
left.
a trailer that is parked just behind the fence
Do
here.
we know the owner of the trailer?
Yes.
They won't move it?
I don't know if they've been asked to.
Yep, so,
they need to
the
be asked.
proposal here is to provide a formal notice to them to move the trailer.
It's just in behind their fence on the property, so, okay. The only other last thing is,
Just to be sure, we'll note that in the minutes as a directive for me to.
Directive to-
yes, please, sorry, yeah.
Um,
Hey guys, this applies to pretty much everyone in this room, except probably Amanda. We asked for quorum because if we don't have notification of quorum and we're sitting here and we don't have quorum, we are wasting taxpayer money. We have to go back and reschedule the meeting. We have consultants that are sitting here for 15 minutes. So I know I've reached out to both of you, you know, saying, hey, and you guys reached out and said yes. And I know we never got quorum from someone else this week. You absolutely have to respond. We've moved it so it's not to the GM, it's not to me, it is to our legal assistant. If there's a reason you can't respond and tell us if you're gonna be here, you need to have a discussion with Sean. But it's getting serious now, especially because we've had a lot of meetings recently, which we never have, where we only have 3 directors, and we don't usually do that. So I'm pleading with you guys to respond to the request, can you make quorum?
Sean, I responded on Monday, Christie, I'll be there. I got a response
Awesome.
from your spam at AB.
Oh, yeah, our
Saying
email
that,
is down, yeah.
Awesome,
that-
that's great,
that they're,
okay. Again,
And if my response is I can't commit.
right, and that's what I wanna
would tell
say,
them to
and,
say
and,
yes and no.
and so I wanna clarify this for everybody in the room. Director Young, I wasn't necessarily just saying you, because Director Johnson and Director Shoemaker have also done it too. And it's just something that happens, and I know you travel a lot, and you probably don't know your schedule, and I know a special session you don't know, but if you could just at least say, hey, I'm gonna try, you know, I went back to Christine and said, hey, special session may be crazy, he may not, but
That's why I wanna commit to her, cause I knew if I
Yeah.
would tell her I could be there and if somebody else came up short,
yeah,
then we
That's
would
fine.
hold. So
That's-
I'd rather leave her thinking, not commit to it
Yeah.
until I can know.
yeah. But I appreciate every single one of you around this table helping, and I know I'm gonna be traveling here pretty soon, so I'm probably not gonna be at a couple of meetings, so just, you know, please, if you can't, but we understand if you can't, just let us know, okay?
Absolutely forwarded that. Move to adjourn. To see the errors or.
Second.
Move to adjourn.
We got it taken care of.
All in favor?
Trust me,
Aye.
there were a few people.
I'll stay longer,
concerned about
stay
that.
longer.
Yeah.
Thank you so